Getting more vaccines into people's arms. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden with an update in the fight against COVID-19, saying his plan will get 200 million more doses of vaccine available by the summer.
That's 100 million more doses of Pfizer and 100 million more doses of Moderna. 200 million more doses than the federal government had previously secured. Not in hand yet, but ordered.
The president said that increases the current order from the federal government by 50%. And he says from this week forward, states will have a 3-week supply so they can vaccinate as many people as possible. And the president said he's put in place mandatory quarantines for travelers coming into the U.S. to stop the spread of the virus. And he reminded Americans of his call to wear a mask for the first 100 days of his presidency. Again, saying it's not a political statement, it's a patriotic one. Earlier, the president took executive action on racial equality, saying the nation is ready to come together and the federal government must lead the way.
Now's the time to act. It's time to act because that's what the faith and morality call us to do.
The actions include addressing housing equity, ending the use of private prisons, and promoting initiatives to combat xenophobia. The president also said he will work to expand the Voting Rights Act. Senators have been sworn in as jurors in the impeachment trial of former President Trump after an objection by Kentucky Republican Rand Paul, who the trial is unconstitutional.
As of noon last Wednesday, Donald Trump holds none of the positions listed in the Constitution. He is a private citizen.
The one article of impeachment, incitement of insurrection, Democrats claim Trump encouraged his supporters to storm the Capitol January 6th. The trial is expected to start in 2 weeks. Wall Street at the close, stocks gave up an early lead to end lower. The Dow lost 22 points, the Nasdaq -9, the S&P off 5 points. America is listening to Fox News. Fewer passengers didn't mean a lesser rate of guns seized at airport checkpoints last year.
The TSA says they found about 10 guns for every million travelers that came to checkpoints in 2020, a record pace and double the rate of 2019. The agency says they seized 3,527 firearms last year. Even though the percentage was higher, the total number of firearms was about 1,000 fewer than 2019. The top 3 airports with the most guns seized: Atlanta, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Houston. Federal law prohibits passengers other than certain law enforcement officers from bringing guns or ammunition into the cabin, but does allow passengers to put guns in checked bags if they're unloaded and in a locked case. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
One of the biggest employers in the country is hiring.
Amazon is hiring 3,000 corporate employees in the Boston area. The company's hiring staff in technology and software development for its Alexa smart speaker system, robotics, web services, and new Amazon pharmacy business. Amazon is considered the second largest private employer in the U.S. after Walmart. It has also been expanding in other cities and now has more than 800,000 employees. Amazon leased a building in Boston's Seaport development as it expanded and says it's not receiving any financial incentives from the government. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
Fashion designer and husband of actress Lori Loughlin, Massimo Giannulli's request to serve the remaining 3 months of his prison term for his involvement in the college admissions cheating scandal at home has been denied by a federal judge. Giannulli had argued he should be released to home confinement for the rest of his 5-month sentence because he spent 8 weeks under what he called extreme conditions in solitary confinement due to the pandemic. Loughlin was released last month after spending 2 months in federal prison. The couple pled guilty in May to paying $500,000 to get their 2 daughters into USC. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
On May 22, 1992, beloved talk show host Johnny Carson ended his 30-year run of hosting The Tonight Show with a farewell episode that included special guests Saddam Hussein, KKK Grand Wizard Virgil Lee Griffin, and a musical performance by the Flag. On May 24, 1883, the Brooklyn Bridge opened, providing New Yorkers with a more efficient way of killing themselves and escaping their trash-ridden excrement-cake city. The monument's historic opening was marked by hundreds of people jumping 275 feet to their deaths in order to avoid waking up every morning with the smell of horse shit filling their nostrils.
Before the Brooklyn Bridge, there were very few ways for New Yorkers to free themselves from the cesspool in which they lived. One method was to tie cinder blocks on their legs and walk into the Hudson River. But of course, the banks of the Hudson were so brimming with garbage and raw sewage that the putrid stench would drive back even the most desperate suicide seeker.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, the only show on national radio where you can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. That number is 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
And it's Ian.
And Bonnie.
And this is your first time doing radio. Welcome to Free Talk Live. It's good to have you on. So, one of the most interesting things I've been hearing circulating in the United States lately is this notion of wearing two masks.
And I've seen the headlines.
Yeah, it's been going around for quite a while, but lately it's just been amping up. And, you know, the Biden administration, when they were sworn in, they had people there wearing two masks. And it's just, I want to know, why are we stopping at two? I mean, if we're going to be idiots about this.
If you wear two masks, it means you care twice as much.
Why aren't they wearing goggles?
Yes, true. They should also be.
Right, because Fauci did say that, you know, if you really were serious, you should wear goggles. And we don't see very many people doing that.
We don't, but I have seen one person,
really?
not in person, but on social media, wearing goggles and a mask and everything. And it's dystopian, man. They look kind of reptilian with that setup, to be totally honest. I mean, all human recognition is wiped away at that point.
Yeah, it's so crazy. And that's what really the masks are really just awful about, is they take away people's humanity and the ability to read another person's face and their expressions and all of the nonverbal communication that goes on when you can see what someone is, well, expressing.
We used to laugh at one of our coworkers who wore one of the face shields because it looked so silly. But now that I've gotten used to it, I vastly prefer looking at him versus looking at one of these people in the mask, because I can actually see this person smile.
Right.
And that's invaluable as one human being to another. But with the mask, you can't. If I say something sarcastic, there's no visual indicator whatsoever that I'm being sarcastic. For all I know, I just sound mean.
Serious or whatever, yeah.
But they say two heads are better than one, but can the same be said for masks? Ask USA Today. The answer is yes, according to Dr. Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert. But it's not really yes. Listen to what he says. So if you have a physical covering with one layer, you put another layer on, it just makes common sense that it likely would be more effective. That's the reason you see people either double masking or doing a version of an N95. So he's not even sure. You know, he hasn't done any scientific studies on this. He's just saying it'll probably be more effective.
Right. Common sense is not the same thing as scientific studies. And even if there were scientific studies that showed it, I still don't care, because all of this is over a bunch of fear-mongering that has to do with, you know, an infection that is barely going to kill anyone.
And that has not affected anyone in the keen libertarian group to any substantial degree whatsoever. I mean, we know a few people who have gotten it, but all of them have come through just fine.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think any of them have even been hospitalized. And we've been some of the most socializing, flagrantly violating these governor's orders all along.
I think I had it when I met Ian.
Oh,
okay.
yeah?
I mean, I might have had it, and I have no idea. There was a guy.
We didn't die, so.
Yeah. Well, there was a guy in his 60s here who owns a business who got it, and he didn't have any issue.
Nope. I have a few. We have a coworker now who has it, and of course he's 20-something years old. I think he's 21, so he's going to be just fine. But the level of fear that people have about this, I mean, crippling anxiety because, oh no, I have COVID-19. Am I going to survive? I'm like, dude, you're 21 years old. You're going to be fine.
Of course you are. You know, how many people, quote unquote, have it, but actually had just a false positive? So, do you really have it? Or did you just test as though you had it? Because this PCR test, as they've talked about, with the number of revolutions, that the more they have these revolutions, the more sensitive it is to just noise, basically.
Right.
And it'll trigger as positive. Well, apparently, allegedly, I've seen this report. I have not. I don't read medical reports, so I don't really know what I'm looking at. But supposedly, according to the Reopen New Hampshire group, there was some sort of government issue notice that went out to change down the revolutions on these PCR tests. So to reduce the number of them, it went out the same day Biden took office, apparently.
Really?
So because they're reducing the number of them, they won't get as many positive results.
Right.
Purportedly.
So it'll make Biden look like he's achieved something.
It'll make
presumably.
Biden look like he has lowered the number of cases.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, what they're effectively doing with these PCR tests, and this has been talked about extensively, it's not a conspiracy theory. They're amplifying it beyond the realms of being useful. It's just like with audio. You know, you may not have actual interference in your audio setup. If you crank up the gain to 100 decibels, you're going to hear some background noises that aren't actually really there just because you've cranked it up too much to be useful.
And we're not just saying this. I mean, there were doctors who came to one of the local meetups that we had here for cryptocurrency. They've been to more than one of them.
Right.
And they explained in, doctorese what's going on with these PCR tests. So, like, this isn't some sort of crazy conspiracy theory. There are other doctors who will tell you, yeah, that's how these tests work. Yes, they are ramping up these revolutions, and that's a problem.
Well, didn't the guy who invented the PCR test come out and say, hey, it was never supposed to be done like this? It was never supposed to be used for this?
I think he said something about you shouldn't diagnose things with this.
So double masking was in the spotlight last week during President Joe Biden's inauguration, where several high-profile officials and celebrities were photographed wearing two masks.
Right.
As you said, they care twice as much.
And as you say, why not care 5, 10 times as much, 20 times as much?
That is what I want to know. I can't imagine, I know wearing one cloth mask makes breathing difficult. I can't imagine. I'm tempted to experiment with to see how much more difficult wearing two masks actually make breathing, but I don't understand why you would just stop at 2. They say a study published in this peer-reviewed journal called Matter in July, doesn't sound like it's actually going to prove to be a peer-reviewed journal, but that's what they called it, found that wearing 2 masks could increase protection from virus particles by 50% up to 75%.
Could.
So if we're dealing with diminishing returns here, 3 masks would give you 87.5%, right?
Why don't you just shove one of the masks in your mouth all the way? That way, it stops any amount of, breathing pressure from reaching the front of your mouth.
Soaks up the spit.
That is the goal of the mask, evidently. And they say, we found that the particle removal efficiency of many surgical style masks could be improved by up to 50% by simply snugging the mask material to the face. In the lab, we did this by adding a nylon stocking, but also tested other elastic layers such as gaiters and tights and found that they also solved the problem of cutting off air leaking in from around the mask. Because you don't want air coming into your mouth or your nose. That's certainly not.
That's a bad thing now.
Americans' renewed interest in double masking also comes as variants that appear to be more contagious emerge from the United Kingdom, South Africa, Brazil, and California.
A more contagious version of the thing that's probably not going to kill you.
Well, they say the one in the United Kingdom, they're calling B1.1.7, might be deadlier in addition to being more contagious. Why are they naming these variants this? The 501Y.V2 variant.
See, you can't possibly track them all. It's overwhelming. You just need to hide inside your house.
Well, just like the common cold, COVID-19 evolves and mutates so quickly that it can't be predicted.
Unlike the common cold, everyone cares about this for whatever reason. No one cares about how often the common cold, has a modification. How often it changes. And it has, as you point out, it has changed, I don't know how many times over. We don't know.
Well, we've always been told that they couldn't create a vaccine for it because it just evolves and mutates so quickly, just like the other coronaviruses, like COVID-19. But no, suddenly they can create a vaccine for this one, even though it would appear that the vaccine is not actually very good against some of these new strains.
Right. Presumably they'll have to create new vaccines for all of the strains, and then all of the people who ever want to travel again will have to get all the vaccines. I hope we don't get to that point.
Biden said in a statement somewhere, I don't remember where exactly it was, but that all Americans who want a vaccine should be able to get one by May. What about the Americans who don't want the vaccine, though? I've heard no talk of the Biden administration actually trying to make mandatory vaccines. But what if I don't want one? I realize this.
There's a camp for people like us.
Yeah, we don't get the camp, man. They kill us on the way to the camp.
Maybe so.
So the gold standard N95 masks are still hard to find and should be reserved for healthcare workers on the front lines of the pandemic. But experts say KF94 masks from South Korea are a good second option. But why?
I'm so tired of all the experts and the mask developments and all the. There's like this whole industry of masks and innovation in masks, and everybody just loves patting themselves on the back for how heroic they are, and it's just so sick.
I really wish I could turn off Wish suggestions for masks because I've never shopped for masks on Wish.
But they keep pushing them.
But they keep suggesting to me. I was like, look, just get this out of my suggestions entirely. Yeah. But they build off algorithms. There's no way for me to actually adjust it. Are you sick of this crap? I don't think it's going away anytime soon. What do you think? 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. Go there now, click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you'll find a cornucopia of information, neatly organized for your needs. If you're a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com where you can get the latest headlines. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet app, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. All put together by the best minds in the business to teach you about cryptocurrency. Bitcoin.com. Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. DIVI project.org.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. 603-283-6160 is the call-in line. You can call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. 603-283-6160. With you tonight is Aria, Ian, and Bonnie. And Bitcoin.com. It's the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. And once you do that, you'll find all sorts of useful information neatly organized by your needs. So you no longer really have an excuse to ignore this important world-changing information. But if you are a knowledgeable crypto user, check out news.bitcoin.com to get the latest headlines of all the news relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website, Bitcoin.com. You can also find a local Bitcoins competitor there where you can buy and sell Bitcoin Cash in a decentralized way directly from other users. That's local.bitcoin.com. So let's go to the phones. We've got Jimmy calling from Missouri. Jimmy, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yes, I'd like to inform you all about the new Ross Ulbricht movie coming out this year called Silk Road. It looks pretty good.
Is it a Ross Ulbricht documentary or is it a documentary about the Silk Road? And do you know whether or not it's weighted against or for Ross?
It is. It looks like it's for Ross, actually.
That would be a pleasant development.
Yeah, it has basically, it talks about him starting up the Silk Road and the feds trying to take him down, and in the trailer, the only way they can take him down is by manufacturing evidence against him to try and get him on the assassin thing,
The what thing?
The assassin. Huh?
The what thing? Where they accused him of hiring a hitman?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the charge that was dismissed with prejudice.
Yeah.
Do you know who's behind the movie?
Huh?
Do you know who's making the movie?
Let's see here. It is it's made by the director is Tiller Russell.
What was it? What was the first name? Russell? What?
Tiller Russell.
Okay.
But it has some big names like Jason Clarke, who's been in The Watchmen, The Great Gatsby, a lot of big name movies.
Do you know when it's slated to release?
Looks like 2021.
Here,
no exact
March
date.
11th.
Okay.
Cool. Well, give us a call when it airs and let us know what you think about it. I'm probably not going to watch it just because I don't have a lot of time to sit around and watch documentaries. Jimmy, thank you so much for the call. I'm glad to hear that the movie doesn't sound like a hit piece.
I'm going to guess this is a dramatization rather than a documentary, but I'm not sure. Meaning it's more of a movie.
Sort of like the Waco dramatization.
Yeah,
that
where they
Netflix
sort of make
did.
a movie about what happened dramatizing it.
We've also got James calling from Texas. James, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's on your mind?
Nigger.
Yeah, it's not going to work, bro.
No, we have this thing called a dump button. So close, though.
Not even close, actually. He didn't get close at all.
No. But anyway,
it's easier for us than ever to dump.
It is, and it immediately rebuilds. So even if I hadn't got him off the line in time, hey, failure, dude. We're an actual radio show. We actually have a thing called a dump button. So bad news for Telegram. A former U.S. ambassador is taking Google and Apple to court for Telegram allowing presumably white nationalists to use their platform. I don't really understand what the story is. But you also brought it in, so do you want to take it?
Well, I actually don't have that story in front of me, but I did have it in show prep. It's pulled up on the computer that you're on. But as I understand it, Telegram is being Apple is being sued. According to AppleInsider.com, is where my story is from, that they're being sued by the Coalition for a Safer Web for failing to remove access to Telegram while still blocking Parler, and is also alleged that it's being used by hate groups and so-called extremists to attack the Capitol. So they filed this last week at the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. According to the Coalition for a Safer Web, they charged Apple with allowing Telegram to be available in the App Store. This, quote, despite Apple's knowledge that Telegram is being used to intimidate, threaten, and coerce members of the public. Now, we do know that Telegram as a centralized app has deleted chat rooms.
He needs I forget his name.
Durov? Pavel Durov, the founder of Telegram?
It sounds like he needs to get rid of the centralization part entirely.
Mm-hmm. Well, then it'd just be a matrix.
Well, I'm not hearing a reason not to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Other than the fact that Telegram has a sleeker and easier to use interface than Matrix does.
Yeah, Telegram's had a lot more development time put into it, and it seems like Durov has basically, from what I understand, just spent his personal fortune operating the thing. There were news stories just a few weeks ago saying that Telegram is finally planning to add advertisements to Telegram, and their plan for ads for Telegram is to only put ads in what they call the Telegram channels. So channels, for listeners that aren't familiar, are sort of a one-way broadcast medium for Telegram. Normally, Telegram is a chat room app where people interact. Channel is where you can follow the posts of a certain individual. So say Donald Trump, if he were on Telegram, or another person you want to follow, they can post to their channel. I know, Aria, you and I, we both have these things. And so they're talking about in like popular channels that they would put advertisements in those. So until now, there's been no monetization for Telegram. Literally, it's just been him throwing money at this thing.
Yeah, that's tragic.
Right? Like, you can't upgrade your Telegram account to get extra features. Like, there's no monetization whatsoever.
No, but if we did have some sort of way to donate like cryptocurrency to him, I'm sure a significant portion of Telegram users would do so.
And maybe there is. I've never looked into it.
I haven't either. Yeah. I'm going to look into that at some point.
They've never asked. The whole time I've had Telegram, they've never said, hey, here's where you can donate for this great app, because it is a great app, and we've gotten a ton of use out of it. But decentralizing would be a way to help this situation, but it wouldn't solve the issue with the App Store, because the App Store is run by Apple, and even if you did decentralize, all they would have to say is, well, hey, now you can't do anything about these terrorist rooms. Well, now we're gonna delete your app. Whereas before, Telegram has removed certain rooms from their app. They have done some level of centrally managing what's available via Telegram. So they're not completely censorship free.
No, but that's more of a CYA thing, a cover your own butt thing. So I get why they would do that.
Because they want to be on the App Store. Because they want people to be able to download and install the app. If you're using an iPhone product, then you may or may not be aware you can only install the things that the App Store allows you to install. If it's not there, it's not on your phone.
I mean, WhatsApp just made a bunch of people angry with changes to their terms of use of services, and this is what's sending all of these people to Signal and Telegram and alternative places in the first place. But if Telegram and Signal get pulled from the Apple Store, you haven't solved the problem of big tech controlling your communication abilities. This is why, although I'm no fan of Google, the Android platform is infinitely better than the Apple one, because I can just go to a third-party app store.
Correct.
There are tons of them, some less reputable than others, but with Apple, you can't do that. Your apps are 100% controlled by what Apple allows you to have, and that's scary.
A huge problem.
603-283-6160 is the call-in line. That's 603-283-6160.
So when we brought him home, we didn't realize that Bear, the rescue dog, was actually sick. He had very flaky skin. He was dropping a lot of fur, and Levette wanted to do steroid injections, special dog food. Nothing seemed to work, so I was at a dead end.
DINOVITE.com.
I've been hearing Dinovite on the radio for years. It never actually crossed my mind to try it until it finally sunk in. Oh, you're talking about hair and skin. And, all right. I'll try it. Well, it took probably 6 weeks, but after we started using Dynovite, no more flaky skin. He doesn't scratch and itch, and he started to put weight on.
Dynovite is nutrition.
I wish that we would have started the Dynovite right away. It would have been so much easier.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
Every rescue dog in America deserves Dynovite for 90 days.
DINOVITE.com.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. 603-283-6160 is the call-in line. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Bonnie.
And we're talking about Telegram and ways that you can decentralize your life away from big tech. Well, we here at Free Talk Live, we've actually put a social network together, where a social media network where you can join with like-minded libertarians and listeners of Free Talk Live. You can find it at social.freetalklive.com. It's running Mastodon.
Yeah, I gotta say, I'm liking it.
I'm liking it as well, and it's got a surprising number of users. I mean, considering
for 2 weeks, basically. Yeah.
I think it has more users than we have on the Matrix server. Although
I think it does.
I haven't actually counted or compared the two.
It's a lot easier to get on the Mastodon than to get on Matrix. I mean, Matrix, there's like a step-by-step thing you got to go through. You can't get any of the steps wrong. With Mastodon, it's your typical, username, email address, sign up.
Then just, if you want to use an app, install Tusky or one of its competitors.
Or like a bunch of other ones. I mean, there literally are multiple apps for every operating system.
Right, because it's decentralized.
Yeah.
Anyone, I mean, it's all open source, so anyone who wants to code an app that, can work with it can do that.
Some apps work across like Windows, Linux, and Mac, but some are Linux only, and then some are iOS only. So there's just a ton of them out there. And I actually installed 4 different apps on the studio computer and whittled it down over time. Like, okay, this one's not that great. This is the best one. So
Whalebird?
Whalebird is the one that I'm liking so far.
Is it available for mobile?
I don't know. I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think it might be desktop only.
Anyway, check it out, social.freetalklive.com. There's also a Matrix server that you can find at chat.freetalklive.com. They're all cool things that you can do so that, no one, I mean, in theory, we could censor you, but we don't particularly want to do that.
I don't enjoy having to use the dump button.
No.
But we will use it.
The dump button is different, though. I mean, we have to follow the FCC rules if we want to stay on the air.
Right.
We don't have to follow anyone's rules to maintain social.freetalklive.com.
That's what's so cool about it.
And you make the rules.
Yeah, and we can get back into the Telegram story because there is more about them being sued.
But before we do that, let's go to the phone. We've got Scott calling from Florida. Scott, you're on Free Talk Live.
Should say Apple being sued.
Good evening, Aria, Ian, and Bonnie. I hope you're all right.
We're
Hello,
great.
Scott. What's on your mind tonight?
This is what's on my mind. Each passing day, I get more outraged with the United States government.
Man, I mean, you have been outraged for a long time. I mean, how have you not reached the maximum outrage yet?
I am, but I'll tell you what constrains me. I don't want to be incarcerated, and I look at our government. I look at our government, and I see cops, and at the inauguration, how eager with National Guardsmen and CIA, FBI, a whole alphabet soup, ATF. Oh my God, of agents on top of agents. And you know what? COVID doesn't scare the hell out of me, but I'll tell you what does. The infringement of our civil liberties, that America is already a totalitarian government. And I'm going to tell you something. There is good news. There is a silver lining, and this is a silver lining, and I want to discuss it with you. I predict that before 2021 is out, the bottom will fall out of this horrible, phony economy. And when that happens, you're going to have 100 million unemployed, millions homeless and starving, no stimulus, a phony vaccine, a stock market that crashes, and the final icing on the cake, the U.S. dollar will melt down.
Well, it's already begun. I mean, the dollar has already been printed at record levels in the year 2020. And also, I had a story from Bloomberg tonight. The U.S. has suffered the sharpest rise in poverty rate in more than 50 years as of the end of 2020. Since the 1960s, it was the sharpest rise in poverty. A study found from University of Chicago and Notre Dame that the poverty rate increased by 2.4 percentage points during the latter half of 2020 as the U.S. continued to suffer the economic impacts, they say, from COVID-19, but we all know what the real reason is. It's the government and their restrictions.
Scott, I'm curious why you would characterize this as a silver lining and, good news. You said 100 million people are going to be unemployed and starving.
Because if that's what it takes for the overthrow of the United States government, then so be it. This government is evil. And when I mean government, I'm specifically talking about Zionist-occupied government. And so your listeners will wonder, what does that mean? What is Zionist-occupied government? There's an old saying, and I'm sure you've heard it, find out who you're forbidden to criticize, and they're the people that control everything.
Well, we criticize everybody here on Free Talk Live, Scott, but what if it weren't Zionist-occupied? Then would it be okay what they do to people?
Absolutely not.
So what's the difference?
Not. Say that again?
So why do you, why are you obsessed with it being Zionist-occupied? Because if you'd already admitted that people who are not Zionists, who are using power over others, are doing undesirable things, then why focus on this sort of other thing over here when we can say, hey, look, it's all these power seekers that are doing this?
Because it happens to be international Jewry that does control everything.
I have a question
more than
for
any
you,
other group.
Scott the Bigot. Do you hate Ashkenazi Jews?
I hate international Jews, and what I mean by that is international.
Yeah, what does that mean?
No.
Yeah, what does it mean?
I hate international Jews. International Jews are those like Michael Bloomberg, Mark Zuckerberg, George Soros, the Rothschilds, those that reach
I
the
never
very
heard Mark
highest
Zuckerberg
pinnacles.
was a Jew.
Say that again?
I never heard that Mark Zuckerberg was a Jew.
Of course he is. He's not Irish. Of course he's Jewish. and he controls Facebook, just like Michael Bloomberg controls
I'm not Irish.
Bloomberg News. Just like the Sulzberger family controls the New York Times, all the news is unfit to print. Between Wall Street, Washington...
That just suggests to me that, Jews are very adept business people.
Yeah, and he only selects the Jewish business people to mention. He doesn't go down the list of successful
there's
Christians.
Elon Musk and, as you mentioned, plenty of successful Christians.
Is Musk a Christian?
He's a Christian, I believe, yes.
Okay, interesting.
Unless he changed his name. Jews are always changing their names. But anyway,
Jack Dorsey of Twitter, he's not Jewish, is he?
No, he's not Jewish.
And
no,
he controls one of the largest social media networks in the world. I'm seeing a few glaring holes in your whole Jews run the world problem here, Scott.
Oh no, there's not glaring at all. In other words, when you look at Bloomberg News,
what about when you look at Twitter? And Jack Dorsey,
he's a Gentile. Yes, he's a Gentile.
Okay, so one of the largest social media platforms in the world run by someone who is definitively not a Jew.
Are the people running the Chinese social media platforms also Jewish?
No.
Okay.
Is the guy running Telegram Jewish?
Duro?
Telegram?
Yeah.
I never heard of Telegram.
It's one of the fastest growing chat platforms in the world right now. I think it's number one on the app stores.
Is it number one? Because it was Signal that was number one, and so is it? It's sort
number
of going
one or
back
number
and
two?
forth? Yeah. Okay.
But it doesn't put holes in my theory at all, because when you look at Wall Street and Washington and the Federal Reserve, the media, Hollywood, and AIPAC collectively, of course there's Gentiles involved in each of those endeavors. But the difference is this. This is the difference.
So it's not a matter of Jewish or Gentile people. It's a matter of people who want power and who are abusing that power, right?
That's what it's always been.
The religion or the nationality or the ethnicity doesn't really seem to be a factor.
But the factor is that the bulk of the people running the world that have all the power are international Jews. That's the problem.
Jack Dorsey was raised as a Catholic.
That's right.
Okay.
He's an exception to the rule. Like I said, I didn't say that everyone is Jewish, but the majority of the players, the important ones, they are Jews, and they control everything.
Would you feel
on.
better if white Christian men were the only ones in power?
Yes, I would.
Why?
But it doesn't work that way.
White Christian men have historically been pretty reckless with power when they
Look at the Catholic Church. They got plenty of it.
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed, but Hitler was a Catholic.
I know. Of course he was a Catholic.
And the Catholics are one of the largest landowners, from what I understand, out there. They own a ton of property. They, of course, have all kinds of perverted priests who have done all manner of abusing people and gotten away with it.
Yeah, not to mention the exploitative nature of some of their religious practices. That's not to say all of Catholicism, all of Christianity takes part in that, but certainly some of them do, and some sects do. So, Scott, I don't know how to address your conspiracy theory beyond what we did.
Yep.
I mean, it's got some glaring holes. I guess you just wave them away, but we can't. It's Free Talk Live.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up in any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Take the Field's mission is to inform baseball players that physical activity is nothing to be scared of, that a little bit of running can be fun.
Now, Rebecca, this obesity problem is nothing new.
Well, right. There is a culture of obesity in baseball that has been around for years. I mean, coaches even sub in healthy pinch runners instead of encouraging their overweight players to hustle, depriving them of the only cardiovascular exercise they might have a chance to get.
And a lot of these athletes have been playing baseball since they were kids.
Well, right. So they might have never learned any healthy habits.
Baseball is fine in moderation, but many of these men spend over 200 days a year playing it, and that adds up.
The program encourages players once an hour to take a 15-minute break from baseball to do something active, like go up and down some stairs, go for a walk, or play some basketball.
All right, well, thanks, Rebecca. If you're a baseball coach and you're worried about your players' health, go to takethefield.gov for a list of healthy activities and nutritious snacks. Coming up next, does America brains get worse hearing words correct?
This is the Onion News Network.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. The only show on national radio where you can call in and talk about anything you want, no matter what it is, even if you just want to rant incoherent. Well, he was coherent, but nonsensically about international Jews or whatever Scott was talking about. 603-283-6160. Just keep it clean. I want to say thank you to Chris R., who is tonight's amplifier. He's also a co-host of the show and a blogger, and he owns the store right next door to my house, which puts a new meaning to the phrase convenience store. I mean, it's freaking amazing. It's my best place to get Monsters and cigarettes and energy shots.
All of your vices
and wine
in one place.
Yes.
They have good coffee.
And they take cryptocurrency. So, Chris,
and discounted.
Thank you for amplifying the show, but even more than that, thank you for opening a convenience store right next door to my house. Well, we hope you still love the show, and we hope to have you back hosting with us one day when things actually slow down. But I don't know, man. If business picks up, we might not have you here on Free Talk Live again. But continue amplifying the show anyway, because we're with you, and I plan on doing everything I can to keep you guys making plenty of money over there.
Appreciate it.
Let's go to the phones, though. We've got Mike calling from Eastern New Hampshire. Mike, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, hi, guys. I really admire your intellectual capacity and popping out answers to a lot of problems. The reason I'm calling is about 3 months ago, my wife had perked me up to an editorial in the Union Leader by Pat Buchanan. Now, this guy is an excellent historian, and he said there's a big problem with Kamala Harris. Where she got her name, I have no clue. In that she is a native-born American, a U.S. citizen, they call it. Problem is, in the Constitution, and it goes right back to England even, where they disseminate freeloaders and immigrants and so forth on validity of being able to vote and so forth. The native born is excluded for being in the presidential position.
Hold on. Are you saying that in the Constitution, Native Americans are prohibited from being president?
Exactly.
Is that
Now,
what he meant by native born? Thank you. I've been sitting here trying to figure out.
Wait, Aria. Here's the thing. And I did not know this, and the average person
I don't recall
wouldn't know
seeing
this
that in
either,
the Constitution.
You've got a it's very logical to think to
See, here's the
assume
thing. I don't
on a
care.
casual nature
Yeah, would you want to
that
uphold that?
natural and native is the same thing, right?
No, here's the thing. Like, this goes back to like the Barack Obama, where there was all this obsession over was Barack Obama from Kenya. Remember that?
I know all the
flipping out about
details.
this.
Although the media obscured that from the public.
Yeah, it was obscured, and maybe it was even true. But the thing is, like, would it really matter if Barack Obama were born in Kenya or was born in Chicago? He's a psychopath either way. And the same thing's true of George W. Bush, and the same thing's true of Donald Trump, and the same thing's true of Joe Biden.
95,000%.
So it doesn't matter if Kamala Harris isn't the psychopath who's in office. There will be another psychopath instead. If it weren't her, it would be, Beto O'Rourke or one of these other characters.
I have to say, I also did a quick look into
look,
it, and you are incorrect. A Native American is indeed an American citizen. They have been since 1924 when the Indian Citizenship Act was passed.
So it's just a conservative conspiracy.
Not a
theory.
natural citizen.
Okay. So now you're...
Can I give you guys a location to give a quick read on it?
Is it sourced in the Constitution itself?
I'm not going to spend any time reading it because honestly, it's not going to make any difference.
No, it is. It is. And it's totally valid. It's called the Daily Bell because when I did a search
so it's not the Constitution,
on native and natural,
website.
It came up with the Daily Bell.
Okay. Well, there's all kinds of conspiracy theories out there. I mean, really, I don't want any president.
Sure.
I don't want any vice president.
I don't either.
So
Especially not a cop.
Well, right, and that's the reason why this woman is a terrifying person, is because she's spent her life prosecuting innocent, peaceful people and putting them behind bars. She's a nutjob psychopath.
And now she and Biden want to present themselves as addressing racial inequality in the prison system when Kamala Harris, as the assistant director,
no,
what
she
they
was
call
the attorney general.
That's what I was looking for. Put a lot of black people in prison.
Yeah, she didn't lift a finger to do anything about prison inequality while she was in charge.
No, and now she's in charge again, and I don't expect anything different. I don't expect to see any notable prison reform. I think the most prison sentence reform we got is probably going to have come from Donald Trump, and that's terrifying.
Sad. Yeah,
because there was,
and that was called like the first. I think the thing he signed was called the baby step bill or the first step bill. It was just like the tiniest little step that you could have taken towards any sort of meaningful prison reform. I mean, it did affect some people's lives. I don't want to take away from that, but it didn't really go very far in any way, shape, or form.
Well, let's keep going. We've got Truth Seeker calling. Truth Seeker, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, thank you. Quick question. If there's more girls than guys, do you say gals or do you say guys?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't care what you say.
Y'all.
There you go.
Y'all, there we go. I just want to call about Bitcoin. Peter Schiff is right about one thing, and that's that Bitcoin has never been a currency. It's not a currency, and it never will be a currency, and it doesn't need to be a currency.
Bitcoin was literally used as a currency to buy pizza.
I have used Bitcoin as a currency.
Just because you trade it for something, that doesn't make currency. You can trade almost anything for pizza or other things. That doesn't make it a currency. A good currency has to have low inflation and low deflation. If it has high deflation, that means no one's spending it. And if you look on Twitter, everyone's saying hodl. I mean, almost no one prices their goods and services in Bitcoin, and almost no one spends it. It's literally not a currency, and it doesn't need to be a currency. And it's a misnomer to call it a cryptocurrency. It's a crypto asset. It's the
That's
best
a very
asset in the
Keynesian way
world.
of looking at it. And I've got to disagree. Bitcoin isn't deflationary at all. It's inherently inflationary. The only difference is that demand for it is vastly outstripping the level at which it's inflating.
Yeah, it bugs me when people call Bitcoin deflationary. It's like, by definition, it is an inflationary currency. Now, it is true that if somebody loses their keys to their Bitcoin, those can't be recovered. That Bitcoin is gone forever.
Sure, but burning a $1 bill doesn't mean that the USD is deflationary, right? It just means that you...
That is a semantics. I mean, you could be correct. It could be
I am
deflationary.
correct.
There might be more being lost than there's being created, so it may be deflationary that way. At the least, its inflation rate is far less than fiat currencies around the world by many factors.
I'm not sure whether or not it is, but the demand for Bitcoin absolutely outstrips the inflation levels of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is designed to inflate less over time.
That's correct.
But it is certainly inflationary.
Sure. Yeah, it's inflationary in that we can predict almost to the day the inflation rate of Bitcoin, meaning that there's a certain block point at which, and for listeners that don't know, Bitcoin is the relevant technology. One of the relevant technologies behind it is the blockchain. It's a public ledger that's distributed and copied in thousands of locations. At a certain point, once enough blocks are added to the blockchain, the amount of Bitcoin that comes out every 10 minutes, roughly, with every block, the amount of Bitcoin that's mined into existence gets cut in half. It started at 50 Bitcoin per block. It went to 25 a few years later. A few years after that, it went to 12
I think it's 5 now, isn't it?
No, it went to 12 and a half, and then it went to 6.25, which is where it is now.
Yeah, okay.
So,
well, again, back to deflationary, inflationary, though, I have to disagree with you. I mean, an inflationary currency is one that is losing value all the time, correct? And
yes, which encourages people to get rid of it by spending it, which is a Keynesian issue.
A deflationary asset is one that is gaining value.
No, you're misdefining inflation and deflation. You're looking at the prices or the value and determining whether you think it's inflation or deflation, when the reality is inflation is the definition of that is to inflate the supply of money.
Increase the supply of money.
Right, or to increase, yeah. To deflate is to
no. That is
decrease.
Literally the economic definition of inflation.
It's to decrease. To deflate is to decrease the supply of money. Given that Bitcoin is designed to increase in its in its amount, the total amount that's available, it is inflationary.
No, that is not. That's just inflation and deflation are not the same as saying increasing the supply or reducing the supply.
I'm sorry, you don't know what the definition of inflation is, sir.
It literally is, and all economists agree on that particular definition. In economics, inflation is an increase in the money supply.
Yeah, but they lie to you in government school, which is probably where you learned about it from. So in government school, they tell you that inflation is an increase in the prices, which is not true.
No, that's a result of inflation. Mm-hmm. Well, Truth Seeker, thank you so much for the call. Interesting economics discussion, but Bitcoin is inherently inflationary. But people want it because it is a good store of value, which you would want a currency to be. But the idea that deflation is bad because it discourages spending means that inflation is good because it encourages spending. And that's Keynesianism, and it's not a good thing for the world as a whole. This is Free Talk Live.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today. Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Coinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Coinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Coinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Getting more vaccines into people's arms. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden with an update in the fight against COVID-19, saying his plan will get 200 million more doses of vaccine available by the summer.
That's 100 million more doses of Pfizer and 100 million more doses of Moderna. 200 million more doses than the federal government had previously secured. Not in hand yet, but ordered.
The president said that increases the current order from the federal government by 50%. And he says from this week forward, states will have a 3-week supply so they can vaccinate as many people as possible. And the president said he's put in place mandatory quarantines for travelers coming into the U.S. to stop the spread of the virus. And he reminded Americans of his call to wear a mask for the first 100 days of his presidency. Again, saying it's not a political statement, it's a patriotic one. Earlier, the president took executive action on racial equality, saying the nation is ready to come together and the federal government must lead the way.
Now's the time to act. It's time to act because that's what the faith and morality call us to do.
The actions include addressing housing equity, ending the use of private prisons, and promoting initiatives to combat xenophobia. The president also said he will work to expand the Voting Rights Act. Senators have been sworn in as jurors in the impeachment trial of former President Trump after an objection by Kentucky Republican Rand Paul, who the trial is unconstitutional.
As of noon last Wednesday, Donald Trump holds none of the positions listed in the Constitution. He is a private citizen.
The one article of impeachment, incitement of insurrection. Democrats claim Trump encouraged his supporters to storm the Capitol January 6th. The trial is expected to start in 2 weeks. Wall Street at the close. Stocks gave up an early lead to end lower. The Dow lost 22 points. The Nasdaq -9. The S&P off 5 points. America is listening to Fox News. Fewer passengers didn't mean a lesser rate of guns seized at airport checkpoints last year.
The TSA says they found about 10 guns for every million travelers that came to checkpoints in 2020, a record pace and double the rate of 2019. The agency says they seized 3,527 firearms last year. Even though the percentage was higher, the total number of firearms was about 1,000 fewer than 2019. The top 3 airports with the most guns seized: Atlanta, Dallas, Fort Worth, and Houston. Federal law prohibits passengers other than certain law enforcement officers from bringing guns or ammunition into the cabin, but does allow passengers to put guns in checked bags if they're unloaded and in a locked case. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
One of the biggest employers in the country is hiring.
Amazon is hiring 3,000 corporate employees in the Boston area. The company's hiring staff in technology and software development for its Alexa smart speaker system, robotics, web services, and new Amazon pharmacy business. Amazon is considered the second largest private employer in the U.S. after Walmart. It has also been expanding in other cities and now has more than 800,000 employees. Amazon leased a building in Boston's Seaport development as it expanded and says it's not receiving any financial incentives from the government. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
Fashion designer and husband of actress Lori Loughlin, Massimo Giannulli's request to serve the remaining 3 months of his prison term for his involvement in the college admissions cheating scandal at home has been denied by a federal judge. Giannulli had argued he should be released to home confinement for the rest of his 5-month sentence because he spent 8 weeks under what he called extreme conditions in solitary confinement due to the pandemic. Loughlin was released last month after spending 2 months in federal prison. The couple pled guilty in May to paying $500,000 to get their 2 daughters into USC. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government, the real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened. From the admission of Ant Colony 000082567 KLN 00067X into the Union in 1897 to the day in 1817 when embarrassed construction workers realized they put the Erie Canal in the wrong place. The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On August 5th, 1962, Nelson Mandela was jailed until 1990, becoming fully rehabilitated through the South African penal system. And thanks to the services provided to him while imprisoned, emerged from jail a successful politician and internationally revered symbol of peace. Mandela's record of overcoming hardships and moving South Africa beyond its formidable racial struggles is a lasting testament to South Africa's correctional facilities and prove that the penal system's small cells, demeaning work duties, and minimal rations are exactly the tools needed for a prisoner to truly become a reformed citizen.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. That toll-free number is 603-283-6160.
You said the toll-free number is 603.
Oh. Well, it's not toll-free.
Sorry.
I gave the correct number, though.
You did, that's right.
603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Arya, Ian, and Bonnie. And we've been talking about Telegram and the fact that a former U.S. ambassador who presumably doesn't actually have standing to sue Apple and Google over this. I can't imagine what standing he would claim to have as a former U.S. ambassador. Anyway, he's suing Apple and Google in order to try to get Telegram removed from the app stores. You said you had some more of this story.
Yeah, that's a good point. How is it that a user of Apple has standing to sue for what Apple puts in their app store?
Yeah, I can't imagine that he does.
Well, it's him and apparently the group called the Coalition for a Safer Web that have charged Apple with allowing Telegram to be available in the App Store. Billed as a nonpartisan, not-for-profit advocacy organization to force the removal of extremist and terrorist content from social media platforms. The coalition claims Apple is failing to follow its own policies and guidelines regarding app content in relation to Telegram. In doing so, Apple allows Telegram's more malicious users to continue their activities. In fact, the lawsuit is pressuring Apple into closely examining Telegram with a view to deplatforming the entire messaging app for allegedly performing these activities. According to a press release from the group from June of 2020, Telegram is being used as, quote, a communications channel for the Russian government, which, by the way, is the reason why Telegram was created to avoid the Russian government. It was created by a Russian anarchist who was being, sought after, by the Russian government and people that are under the threat of the Russian government. This was an escape hatch for them. This was a way for them to communicate outside of Russian channels. They don't even have servers in Russia.
Right, because the Russian government demanded the encryption keys, and he said, screw off, I'm not doing that.
Right, so they're claiming that it's a channel for the Russian government, which is total mythology. They're claiming that it's affiliated neo-Nazi and white nationalist groups, sowing misinformation and racial division in the United States and in Europe.
That's silly. You have to go looking for these white nationalist groups on Telegram in order to find one. You're not going to be added to them by default.
No.
If you don't want to be in a group with a bunch of white nationalists, don't join those groups. I happen to be in several because it makes them intensely angry. And
to have a tranny in there?
Yeah. Most of them revolve around Chris Cantwell. He kept adding me to them, and people would just argue with me, and it just infuriated them that they could not make me upset.
So Cantwell was using you as a tool to sow seeds of dissemination into the
and his enemies were using me as a tool, trying to convince people that he and I had slept together, which, of course, neither one of us would actually deny. Of course, we never did. But I'm not going to deny it because it's funny. So
Right.
I was just sort of in the middle there with both sides using me against the other, and I got tremendous amounts of laughter out of it.
There is the accusation that, quote, anti-black and anti-Semitic groups have openly utilized Telegram with little or no content moderation by Telegram's management. They say that Apple has not taken any action against Telegram comparable to the action it has taken against Parler to compel Telegram to improve its content moderation policies. So they say that, they're mad because Telegram is leaving these channels alone.
But they leave everyone alone.
But that's not true. They don't. They actually have taken down terrorist channels, like actual channels where people are plotting the destruction of other human beings. They have taken those channels down from Telegram.
Which isn't the worst thing I've ever heard, but I'm still not a fan of censorship.
I agree with you, but they do want to be on these platforms like Apple, so that's the reason I suspect that's the reason why they're doing this. Although Durov has put out statements saying that they don't support violence, and so therefore they will remove calls to it.
Right, which is a good philosophy to have.
The suit also alleges Telegram is being used to coordinate and incite extreme violence before the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. Where did that happen? Did any of the extreme violence actually occur?
They were definitely not successful if that's what they were attempting to do.
Lady Gaga was safe.
Well, thank God for that.
Some users have called on followers to abandon plans for a second protest in Washington in favor of surprise attacks nationwide. So this is what they're seeing, I guess,
But
on
this
some of
sounds
these
like
Telegram
fear-mongering.
groups. It totally is. There's a mention of how the man has suffered emotional distress. This is the ambassador you were talking about, Mark Ginsburg. He's suffered emotional distress and anxiety due to the misinformation and incitement for violence against Jews. So can you imagine?
So presumably he's Jewish?
I'm going to guess that that's the case. Can you imagine suffering from anxiety because someone somewhere is posting something mean about trans people?
I can't imagine that.
God.
I mean, I get it
And they
all
are
the time,
posting
and
mean
I
things
don't.
about trans people.
Yeah, but
Somewhere.
it's nothing to have anxiety over. I mean, I literally sat here with Chris Cantwell, who talked about how trans people should be killed. I mean, it's stupid to get anxiety over what other people are saying.
Right.
There's an enormous difference between an actual legitimate threat and someone being an idiot on the internet.
Absolutely.
I'm not scared of an idiot on the internet.
But yet
or
this
even
guy,
an idiot in person, as these shows with Christopher Cantwell revealed.
According to the lawsuit, he is suffering emotional distress and anxiety, and is being forced.
What a snowflake!
He's being forced to, quote, live in apprehension of religiously motivated violence being perpetrated against him, unquote, causing him to fear for his life and the lives of his family, even though there has not been any sort of identifiable threat against him. Otherwise, this would be like criminal charges brought against somebody.
Right. It's just the fact that knowing some people out there are anti-Semitic and say horrible things about Jewish people, that's triggering his anxiety and extreme emotional distress.
Wow.
Sounds like a very sensitive individual.
Yeah.
He should grow a pair.
Yeah, I can't imagine living in that level of fear of just, like you said, what other people are just saying in mostly private places.
Yeah, you have to go looking for these. That's what I don't get.
Yeah.
You know, why would he, as a Jewish person, go looking for Nazi chat rooms on Telegram? I don't know about other people, but I have better things to do with my time
than confirm that people are saying mean things about you.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes we like to go in our own chat room and see what they're saying because it's almost always mean things there.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But, we've invited them in, so it's okay.
And it doesn't give you anxiety.
No,
it
not
doesn't.
at all. It's just amusing.
It is,
yeah.
Often.
So that's your story. I agree with you, Aria. I think that they are going to find this person doesn't have standing and kick this out of court.
I hope so, because standing is an important thing. But I don't think the point of this is really to actually succeed in a lawsuit against Apple.
It's to drag Telegram through the mud.
Yes, it's to make Apple and Google, it's to create enough social pressure where they have to remove Telegram from their stores. And with Google, again, you can always just go to a different app store in order to download it. But with Apple, it isn't that simple. You're stuck using the Apple Store, the iStore, whatever they call it on Apple. So that's frustrating, and I hope that people manage to solve the problem. But ultimately, a bigger problem are drug overdoses and despair being wrought by the lockdowns and the lack of human connections, I would argue, that caused things like that 16-year-old in Maine to kill himself because he couldn't take the lockdowns any longer. He couldn't take the quarantines.
Yeah, and he's not the only one. There have been multiple people who have had these situations arise in their lives where they're just so bummed out and so in desperate times.
And that's just the intentional ones. The accidental ones, the drug overdoses, are up enormously over previous years.
Yeah, that's not a surprise. I mean, it's been almost a year now since the whole COVID crackdown began. And, you know, we were saying early on.
It has been almost a year.
Yeah, we were saying early on that you were going to see this.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's human nature, right? Humans are social animals. We need to connect with each other. We need to socialize. We need to be human beings. And every measure that the government has imposed in regard to this pandemic has been anti-human. It's been, no, you can't associate with friends. You can't even associate with your family. You can't hug each other. You can't even be within 6 feet of each other.
Well, you can't pet dogs either.
Yeah, you can't pet dogs either. I saw on Drudge Report today that they now have a COVID-19 for cats and dogs. A COVID-19 vaccine, sorry.
Ridiculous.
I didn't click the article, but yeah, evidently they've been developing a COVID-19 vaccine for cats and dogs.
No, thanks. I'll pass.
Yeah, I like my cats too much to do something like that to them over a disease that they're not going to get. And even if they are, it's probably not going to kill them, just like it's not really going to kill me. 603-283-6160. Maybe I'm just being reckless with my cats' lives.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org. Freedom! Freedom is the call of the untamed Scotsman and all others that want to feel the wind under their kilts.
At Free Talk Live, we love the breezy, swinging feeling that only a kilt from Sport Kilt can give.
We teamed up with Sport Kilt to let you experience their form of freedom at a discount. Go to kilts.freetalklive.com and see a picture of Richie and me in our kilts.
And then head over to sportkilt.com. Get some stylish freedom for yourself and use code FTL for a 10% discount. Sportkilt.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join a lot of the Free Talk Live cast or crew or hosts, whatever you want to call us, at ForkFest 2021, June the 28th through July the 4th at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest is decentralized, which means nobody's in charge. It also means there's no ticket cost, and it's right after the Porcupine Freedom Festival. All you have to do is reserve your camping site, your RV site, or your motel room with Rogers Campground for June the 28th through July the 4th. And there's no better way to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving people in New Hampshire. So check it out. Forkfest.party is the unofficial website. There's also links to an unofficial Telegram chat and an unofficial forum. You can find out more about it at forkfest.party, June the 28th through July the 4th. It may be one of the only major events. I don't know how major it is, but it may be one of the only events happening this year.
It's a thing to do.
It is a thing to do. And it will be going on as long as Rogers Campground doesn't pull the plug on it. And I don't see any reason why they would. They never have before.
Yeah, Crosby wanted to make money last summer, and that's when everybody was really crazy about the whole mask thing because there was all kinds of fear around, and it still happened, and it was awesome.
It was. I look forward to it. June the 28th through July the 4th. Come on up. Check out New Hampshire. It's a great place. And, bring some cryptocurrency because just about every vendor there last year, I only failed to get someone to take cryptocurrency. No, they did take cryptocurrency, but it was BTC, strangely enough.
Weird.
Yeah. It was the guy I bought the habanero sauce from. So, I mean, it was worth it for habanero sauce, but still strange. Anyway, let's go to the phones. We've got Gary calling from South Dakota. Gary, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hi there. I call in once in a while, and I listen to you as much as I can, and I really appreciate your show.
Thanks, Gary.
Thanks for the support.
Yeah. The thing about Telegram, I mean, these people that are trying to get it deplatformed, I think these civil liberties, the erosion of civil liberties in regards to free speech, it's going on far enough. I mean, first they were doing it to Parler, and now Gab is coming out with a phone, and Tesla, I think they announced they're coming out with a privacy phone.
Really?
There's always going to be, as long as we have the Constitution, there's always going to be a way around this, regardless of what big tech or Jack Dorsey or any of them think.
I had hopes on the McAfee Global Technology smartphone that they were working on.
Wait a minute. When did you have hopes about that? Was that before McAfee hit you up for a donation or whatever it was?
Yeah, this is in like 2016, 2015.
So you didn't know anything about him at that point.
Oh, and I knew plenty about him.
Because everything he's ever said has not come true.
He hadn't gone so far off the deep end at that point. This was right before he was humping whales on the beach, and right before he started shilling for any cryptocurrency that would give him money.
$100,000, yeah.
Yeah, this was before he went off that deep end, but I'm not going to trust any smartphone released by Elon Musk, who is a government whore.
I wanted to get your idea on this. Today, HB 1359 in Austin, Texas, was filed, and it gives the people a chance to vote for Texas to reassert its status as an independent nation and decouple from the federal government. It's
Sounds
written into the Constitution, and I think you're going to see, because there's so much polarization, that they may take some other states with them.
I will be stunned if it
successful.
happens. I mean, we saw this happen in 2008 when Obama first won. We saw it happen again in 2012. We saw it happen in 2016 when CalExit, which wasn't related to Donald Trump, started making the news, but there were other states that talked about it. And now we're seeing it again in 2020. I think just these cries of secession, regrettably, are just how people react to their president not winning the election. Instead of trying to actually create a smaller government, they just want to create one with theirs is the one in power.
Well, and the the calls for secession usually bubble up for a little, few months after the election, and then they just dissipate, and you don't ever see any real protracted efforts.
I kind of think that this will probably be more favorable, because I think the GOP, they put it as part of their party platform, and they gained 93% favor. So we'll have to see in November 2021.
The 93% what now?
Favor from the people.
According to what polling?
Membership of the Republican Party in Texas.
But how did they get those numbers? How did they find
membership? The overall movement went from 500 to 400,000. It exploded. So
those are big numbers. But how did they actually get the 93%? Did they do? Was this an internal poll?
They did a polling on people and everything. So.
Well, if that's really true, then this should have some legs to it.
I would be surprised if
that's shocking,
3% of Texans support a secession.
No, I would give it probably closer to like a third or something like that.
Really?
In Texas, yeah. I mean, the national polling recently showed 25% of Americans think that the U.S. should split into red and blue countries.
I don't care what the United States does, but I certainly think that New Hampshire should get away from the United States. It's not doing us any favors. It's not helping us.
If that happens, I'll come up for sure.
Well, thank you for the call tonight. I appreciate it. Yeah. Let me share with you here what the Austin American-Statesman has to say about this. That's the newspaper there in the Austin, Texas area. HB 1359 says here is pretty simple. If approved by the Texas House and Senate and signed by the government, the governor, which is of course unlikely, the November 2nd ballot this year, I presume, would include this non-binding referendum question. So all of this hubbub to ask a non-binding referendum question, which would say, should the legislature of the state of Texas submit a plan for leaving the United States of America and establishing an independent republic?
I would say the answer is yes, insofar as that's an improvement versus the United States, but it sounds like a lot of steps to go through for a simple non-binding referendum. It has to get approved by the House, which is unlikely. Yep. It has to get through the Senate, also unlikely.
Correct.
Then it has to get signed by the governor, extraordinarily unlikely.
No doubt.
And then it has to get voted by popular support, which is also, it may be unlikely or unlikely, but even then, it's a non-binding referendum, which means the government can just
go, do anything.
Oh, neat, and put it aside.
I'm from Texas, and I don't think that most people I know would actually want to leave the United States. They'd be like, no.
I want New Hampshire to leave the United States. The people of Texas can do whatever they want, but I certainly want New Hampshire to leave the United States, because at least then we won't have ignorant people in California who know nothing about the candidates they're voting for who is going to rule us. And that's not to say that the people of New Hampshire are any more knowledgeable than the people of California. I think we know that they're not. But it's a broken idea to have people, 320-something million people from all over this enormous geographic landmass and making up different cultures, different personality types, having one person ruling over them, ultimately in charge of everyone and everything. It's a fundamentally bad idea. We need to at least minimize the amount of damage that rulers can do. And the best way to do that is to secede.
And the guy who put this bill forward, his name is Kyle Biederman. He's from Fredericksburg, Texas. He's a state representative. And his press release says that there are indications that the Republic of Texas would not just survive, but thrive as an independent nation. Saying further in the statement, voters of all political persuasions in Texas can agree on one thing: Washington, D.C. is and has been broken. Our federal government continuously fails our working families, seniors, taxpayers, veterans, and small business owners. For decades, the promises of America and our individual liberties have been eroding. It's now time the people of Texas are allowed the right to decide their own future. This is not a left or right political issue. Let Texans vote.
I agree. But, I mean, at least make the referendum binding.
Yeah, well, to his credit, he's at least bringing the conversation forward and putting these people to the test. What will they vote? Will they allow the people of Texas to even let their voices be heard officially on this? And they probably won't.
It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, it will.
This is Free Talk Live.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Are you making sense to the boomer mindset? I'm Holland Cook from survivalspeech.com. 80 million baby boomers comprise 25% of the population and control most of the USA's wealth. As aging parents pass on, they'll control more. Boomers are 46 to 65 years old and regard themselves as midlife. They identify as neither young nor old. They're post-minivan and pre-retirement, and they don't like being called boomers. They think me. Many of the purchases boomer couples make are individual purposes. They've been experimenters all their lives. If you want their attention, tell stories and keep it simple. If something seems complicated, boomers can dismiss it as, I don't need this. And if you're looking for work, you may be applying to a boomer, so relate accordingly. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control. Call in and talk about anything that's on your mind. As long as it's clean, we'll let you get on the air. You do have to stay FCC friendly, of course. The number is 603-283-6160. And with you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Ian.
And Bonnie.
And we've been talking about Telegram, but we're switching gears here now to talk about the destruction wrought by the government's response to COVID-19. Now, a lot of these economic consequences, the suicides, the isolation, the depression, are being blamed on COVID-19. But of course, that's not correct. It's being caused by government lockdowns that they are presumably enforcing because of COVID-19. But COVID-19 isn't the one telling you you can't hang out with your friends.
That's right.
That's
or
the
open
government.
your business.
Yes. Or open your business, or, pay your employees, or do your job, or whatever. That's the government, not COVID-19.
That's right.
And the government is also the one causing depression in people and anxiety, and people are seeking escapes from that, just like they always have.
Sure.
And it's leading to an increase in overdoses.
Yeah, it used to be that if you were frustrated with life, you could get together with your friends and hang out and talk to them about how things were going.
Yeah. Now you have to do that through a Zoom meeting,
which is entirely impersonal and not enjoyable in the least.
So tell us about how the pandemic is fueling all of these negative reactions.
The story is coming from NPR, where they report that Karen Butcher's son Matthew struggled for years with an addiction to opioids. She's convinced the pandemic made it worse. The restaurant in Scott County, Kentucky, where Matthew worked as a bartender, closed before the pandemic, and soon other establishments from restaurants to stores followed suit as states imposed lockdowns. Quote, one day you're a bartender and you're serving people and having a great time at it, and the next day the doors are closed, she recalls. She said, then COVID hits. It was the perfect storm. She says her son...
They closed before the pandemic?
I don't know if that's what she meant to say, but that's what it says here. Butcher says her son was increasingly isolated just at a time when his unemployment checks were starting to come in. Quote, he was lonely, depressed. He didn't have any more reason to get up and keep going, she said. And then all this money flows in because of unemployment. So you're isolated. You have lots of money, and your coping skill has always been drug use. Well, 2 + 2 equals you're going to have a tough time, perhaps.
Learn better methods of coping, though.
He died of a drug overdose alone in his apartment last May. So he didn't even make it 2 months before OD.
That's like the month that was the worst for me. I was in San Antonio, and like everything closed, and I had no friends, and I was drinking all the time. Like in May. May was really bad. Until Lady Gaga released Chromatica.
Are you a fan of Lady Gaga?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know anything about her. I lost my train of thought with that.
Right. So, so it was bad for you, Bonnie, because there wasn't anyone to hang out with?
Yeah, everybody, like even I was kind of scared to hang out with people. I had like one person, we would both hang out sometimes, but I would just go, sometimes I would go do Uber, and most of the time I was just so depressed, like I didn't even want to go make money.
So even though you had something to do, you didn't have to do it, and so you were just kind of being depressed about it.
Yeah, like I couldn't do it enough to pay my bills, and then like I didn't really want to just like go out and see the empty city all day.
That is pretty depressing.
I was surprised today on the way to pick up dinner, or on the way to get dinner, how little traffic there was in Keene. Now, part of that was probably because of the snow.
Yeah, it was the snow, yeah. Absolutely.
But still, Main Street was dead at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It
was pounding snow at the time. So
it was.
That does tend to keep people home around here. Right now in Keene, New Hampshire, it is nothing like what it was a year ago. Or not a year ago, but 8 months ago or whatever, when this was just kind of getting rolling. I remember being shocked at how few cars there were on the road and how almost no one was out and about. We've seen it come back, I would say, to some extent here.
Good point. Walking to the nightcaps, there was no one else out.
Oh, yeah.
In March and April of last year.
So this guy died in his apartment all alone last May. And they say here ordinarily...
It says opiates, but it sounds like heroin. It's really difficult.
Heroin is an opiate.
Yeah, but I would specify he was a heroin user, not like wasn't eating Lortabs or something, because it's significantly harder to overdose on like hydrocodone than it is heroin.
Really?
You're going to more likely die of Tylenol or the acetaminophen and your over-the-counter, well, not over-the-counter, but your pharmaceutical opiates.
Do they put acetaminophen in those?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
A ton of it.
I didn't know that. Ordinarily, a spike in unemployment doesn't lead to a spike in overdose deaths. People who aren't working often don't have the money to buy drugs.
Yes, but this time the government was nice enough to give everyone, what was it, $600
a
extra?
Week? Wasn't it per week?
Per week. On top of the normal unemployment benefits, it was $600 extra. So this bartender who was probably making, $300-$400 a week at best, suddenly he's making twice
what he made.
Yeah.
That's a lot of drugs.
Obvious result is obvious.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, if he was smart, he'd have bought Bitcoin with it and just, held on for the ride.
Well, that's certainly what I suggested.
Yeah. Then he could have bought 10 times the amount of drugs later on.
And he probably could have used the Bitcoin to get them.
But in University of Chicago economist Casey Mulligan says the COVID-19 recession is unusual. Federal relief payments put more money in people's pockets last spring, just as many of the usual ways to spend it were closed off. Vacations, eating out, or anything group-oriented, going to a sports game, concerts, bars, and that kind of left the sort of things that you do by yourself. Taking opioids is something that people can do by themselves.
I guess that's literally a true statement.
The economist who worked for the Trump administration argued in a recent working paper that increased isolation during the pandemic may have contributed to rising deaths of despair, that is, suicides, alcohol-related deaths, and especially drug overdoses. It's an argument the Trump administration made against government stay-at-home orders, though Mulligan admits the pandemic itself may be isolating. And that is true to some extent. Some people are so afraid of the COVID-19 that even if there weren't lockdown orders and even if there weren't restrictions on workplaces and the like, they likely would still be too frightened to come to work. I mean, you're having trouble getting workers where you work right now, right?
We do.
Yeah.
We've cut our hours because we just don't have the staff at the moment to maintain normal business hours. But would people still be afraid if governments and media hadn't colluded throughout the last year to make them just absolutely terrified of this thing?
No doubt.
Nobody ever did this for flu season.
Nope.
No. And the flu kills people.
It sure does. Well, not this year, or not in 2020. It for whatever reason, they just either they didn't record any of them, or all the flu deaths were actually quote-unquote COVID, or the COVID was really the flu or whatever, but flu numbers were apparently down quite a bit.
Which isn't surprising. It was inevitable. But yeah, people didn't, stay home from work or lock down or quarantine or anything else during the various flu pandemics that we've had in the past. I mean, there's been swine flu, bird flu, and none of this crap has been the result of it. And you could say COVID-19 is deadly or whatever, and it's okay, fine. But it's the fear-mongering around it that is really causing these issues. As you pointed out, people would stay at home regardless of the government orders, and it's because they've spent a year hearing Nike and Amazon and all of these other advertisers because they're watching television because they haven't pulled the plug yet, and their ads are just
home alone.
These commercials are just filled with this stuff.
The propaganda, you mean?
Yeah, it's absolutely horrifying. A simple Nike commercial talks about masking up.
Right.
We got to stand together, stay 6 feet apart. I mean, this has been pounded into their heads for a year.
Yeah.
It's no wonder they're terrified.
And here's another point. A person who accidentally overdoses alone may be at greater risk of dying, of course, since there's no one else around to call for help. If you have a loved one, they've got a heroin problem. Some people keep, as they mentioned here, naloxone, which is something you could administer to bring somebody back from an overdose, basically, to sort of counter it, from what I understand. This Narcan is I believe the name brand of it. And so it's legal here in New Hampshire to have that. It didn't used to be, but now it is. So if you've got somebody who's got a heroin problem, you keep this stuff around, you could save their life.
Have drug overdoses from opiates decreased in New Hampshire as a result of the legalization of Narcan?
That would be a good question, and I would look at the numbers prior to 2020, because 2020 obviously you would see probably some different circumstances. Because if your loved one has the Narcan but they're not with you because everyone's isolating themselves, then you can't likely dose yourself with the Narcan if you're in an overdose state. You know what I mean? So you kind of need somebody around to help you with that.
And they go on to blame fentanyl, of course, for these overdoses. So yeah, presumably it was heroin that was laced with fentanyl or that contained fentanyl or something. We're going to talk more about this and the long-term and short-term damages caused by the government shutdowns. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
Free Talk Live.
When you speak of the federal government, I can tell you a few things about it because I survived 34 years of it before I retired 2 years ago.
Ew,
And
sorry to hear about
maintained
that.
my sanity.
Congratulations.
Who did you work for?
I worked for the Department of Defense. It's a criminal enterprise from top to bottom. There was unethical behavior going on there. There were people doing criminal things. I mean, outright larceny, graft. I could just go on.
Yeah, and that's just your bureaucracy. It's the same way everywhere else in every other government department.
And I tell you, this is a microcosm. If it's that way where I was, you know the entire federal government's that way from the very top to the very bottom.
When we talk to former police officers, they've told us that usually
I did that too for about 7 years out there.
They've told us that in their experience, usually the worst rise up through the ranks. Would you say that's accurate from your experience?
Absolutely.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
There are basically 2 types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio is great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live with Aria, Ian, and Bonnie tonight. 603-283-6160 if you want to join us and talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160. We're talking about the consequences of the government lockdowns, the one that everyone wants to ignore, or the one that people just don't care about because, if we save just one human life, then it's worth it that we lost one human life, and at least one. For sure, a 16-year-old in Maine.
Yes, you don't understand. For the people that are COVID crazy, they believe that the suicide people, the people that kill themselves and the drug overdoses, their lives aren't equal to the lives of those poor innocent people who came down with an illness that might possibly kill them, but barely has a chance of actually doing it.
Hasn't that same group of people been arguing for the last 2 decades that depression and drug addiction are diseases that these people just came down with accidentally?
Yeah.
Yes.
I had somebody tell me like it's a choice to make or to suicide yourself or whatever.
Well, it is a choice. I'll give you that.
So that makes it worse than dying from the flu.
That's what
I
they
mean,
believe.
not as bad, I guess.
No, I mean, it's still a death and it sucks. But I mean, the reason they make that choice as in my business, it may be because depression or isolation brought about by the pandemic, or it may be something unrelated. But if we could have avoided creating that depression with the government lockdown, that would have been great.
No doubt. There's more, though, about this story where this lady's son, who killed himself in May of a drug overdose alone in his own home, she says that her son tried desperately to find an in-person support group last year, even suggesting that he might start his own meeting in a parking lot if necessary. Zoom counseling and online support groups just weren't working for him. Surprise, I mean, normally when you go to one of these groups, presumably you actually have contact with other people, not just sitting in the same room, but maybe actually get a hug from somebody, or at the very least a handshake, some sort of human contact, being able to look at somebody in the eyes, not through a camera, and seeing a person. And, instead when the group on Zoom or whatever ends for the day, it's, you can wave at the camera and say, "Goodbye, everyone. Nice seeing you."
Sometimes just having a reason to get dressed will make you less depressed.
Getting out of the house has been something that they have recommended for depressed people for a long time, is go, get some exercise, get some fresh air.
Sure,
Go
now
for a
they're saying
walk.
you can't get out of your house.
Nope.
And now the depression rates are skyrocketing. We just don't understand what's happening.
She said, this is his mom saying, he craved being a part of a group that understood what he was going through in person, and it just couldn't happen. She says, so yeah, I believe it impacted his mental health greatly.
I mean, especially for someone who is a drug addict who is using drugs to cope with something. We don't know what he was coping with, but he was already in a fragile state. He needed that that human connection with other people, and he just couldn't get it.
Yep.
So he chased drugs deeper and deeper until he finally died in his apartment.
So we don't have the numbers yet for 2020. According to the numbers, however, drug overdoses, suicides, and alcohol-related deaths killed 165,000 Americans in the year of 2019. So it should be interesting and likely sad to see how that number will change for 2020 when it's available.
I'm surprised those numbers aren't available yet.
If they are, they didn't make it into this NPR story, which was published, I believe, today. Yeah, it was published this morning.
Well, I imagine the numbers will be up.
Yep.
And
Surprise.
I imagine, the people who are wrapped up in this COVID fear just aren't going to care. No. What would be interesting, tragic, but interesting would be to see suicide, alcohol-related, drug-related deaths increased well beyond the number of COVID-19 deaths. It would be tragic to see that, but that's only like a 2.5 times increase. That's not unlikely in a year that was as destructive to humanity and a person's well-being as 2020 proved to be.
I want to know from the people that actually kind of look down their nose at the suicide and drug overdose deaths, how many dead drug addicts or family members from suicide or whoever, people who killed themselves, how many of these types of deaths is equal to a person dying from COVID? Like, what does it take? I mean, if it takes X amount of overdose deaths to be worth saving one person from COVID, how many is the number of overdose deaths? Is it 10 to 1?
I wouldn't be able to answer
2
that.
2 to 1? 3 to 1? I mean, it's a ridiculous question, but this is actually the viewpoint that people have, is they look down their nose at people who have decided to kill themselves, and they say, well, you're a lesser person. You're not as equal as these people over here who just happen to get COVID. You are not as important.
But this person, according to them, just happened to get drug addiction, just happened to get depression, right? It wasn't.
Well, they're not saying that anymore, I don't think.
No, of course not. And it's futile to try to point out someone's hypocrisy to them. It's like, wait, weren't you just saying this like 3 years ago, that this person with this drug addiction, they just have a disease? Suddenly that's no longer really the case. They chose that. They chose that disease. They chose that suicide and that depression.
Well, they did choose it. And I'm glad they've finally come to that realization. But that doesn't mean that they're any less of a person. And it doesn't mean that they don't deserve to be cared about or to have their feelings considered.
Or to have no way to be able to go get help.
I will say that the 16-year-old in Maine who killed himself because of isolation and depression is probably more valuable than your 86-year-old grandmother's. Sorry to say that, but that's probably true. He probably had a lot more to contribute to the world.
Could have contributed more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Than the 86-year-old in the nursing home.
Mm-hmm.
I realize people don't want to face that reality, but we do have teens out here killing themselves, becoming drug addicts who otherwise wouldn't, and that's a serious issue, not to mention the ones who are going to become psychopaths as they're adults because they were 2 years old in this anti-human era.
Here's an idea. Let's let the old folks in the nursing home decide for themselves what level of risk they're willing to take. You know, if you want to see your grandkids and you want to hug your grandkids, then you should be able to do that.
I heard my 75-year-old grandma telling my aunt, I would rather see my grandkids because one of them got COVID. And she was like, I would rather see my grandkids. I don't want to die without seeing my grandkids again.
I know. That's so sad.
I imagine that's probably the most common reaction, but you do have people who are just narcissistic enough that they're like, no, don't hug me, grandson. Stay 6 feet away from me.
Didn't you say your uncle was like that or something?
No, my father was
dad.
like that to my nephew. And I'm like, dude, I'm so glad I was not there for this. That is so disgusting.
Yeah.
Glad to give my nephew a hug. No fear of COVID. But no, I mean, these people are insane. And now they wear that with a badge of honor. I mean, the new normal is perpetual insanity and being out of touch with reality and what is actually happening around them.
And it's getting worse. Now they're, as we said in the beginning of the show, now they're saying to wear 2 masks instead of 1.
And I just don't understand why they're stopping it too.
Yeah.
And how come we're not seeing goggles? You know, Fauci said, put on goggles. If you really want to protect yourself and other people, put on goggles. Now it's wear 2 masks. Okay. If you want me to put on 2 masks, you better damn well be wearing a pair of goggles when you say this to me.
And if you're
I'm not going to put on 2 masks, but you better at least be doing your part.
And if you're going to wear 2 masks into a grocery store, why wouldn't you just get curbside in your car outside?
That's also a valid point.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're that terrified, just stay the hell at home. Just get it delivered using one of these apps you don't even have to go to the store. Just get it delivered directly to your house.
I don't understand it.
Spray everything with Lysol before you bring it in. I don't know. If you're crazy, you're crazy.
That's just proof people just want to be seen with a mask on.
I think you're right about that. And now they want to be seen with 2 masks.
Yep.
Because it's all about signaling, right? Oh, look at me. Oh, I care. 2X.
I don't care.
2X cares.
I don't care about the spread of coronavirus or COVID-19, and I haven't seen any particular or compelling reason that I should care.
Me neither.
And
I've known people who've come down with it.
I don't associate with any particularly elderly people who would be at risk of dying from this.
I didn't freak out when my friends got the flu before. You know, just say, man, get some rest. Get some fluid in you. Eat.
I was unsettled a bit when I had the flu early last year.
Yeah.
But that was because it lasted for like 4 or 5, 6 weeks and it just never seemed to go away.
Mm-hmm.
I was unsettled by that, but even then it was never something, I can't go do the radio show because I might get someone else sick. You know, it's simple. Take precautions. Wash your hands after you blow your nose. Just wash your hands regularly anyway, especially when you're sick. Simple little things like that to inhibit the spread of a disease. I don't believe anyone here at the studio caught the flu as a result of that.
I don't know. I mean, nobody and I did for like 2 days come down with some pretty bad stuff coming out of both ends. And
that sounds more like food poisoning than anything, though.
Yeah, I don't know what it was.
It doesn't sound pleasant either.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it was pleasant.
It didn't last for 4 weeks, though. It was only 2 days.
See, I don't think I had that issue when I had the flu. I was just tired constantly and running a fever.
Well, the thing is, if you look at the
sore.
coronavirus symptoms, there's a whole list of stuff that's on there. So,
yeah.
People got all kinds of symptoms.
Yeah, and, that it could be anything. It could be a common cold. It could be the flu. But if you're sick these days, you just about can't tell anyone about it because they're going to assume you have COVID-19. Even if you just have allergy issues like I do here in New Hampshire. Never had issues in Mississippi. But here, I sneeze every day and I always get looks from people. Oh, my God, you're infectious. This is Free Talk Live.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Getting more vaccines into people's arms. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Biden with an update in the fight against COVID-19, saying his plan will get 200 million more doses of vaccine available by the summer.
That's 100 million more doses of Pfizer and 100 million more doses of Moderna. 200 million more doses than the federal government had previously secured. Not in hand yet, but ordered.
The president said that increases the current order from the federal government by 50%. And he says from this week forward, states will have a 3-week supply so they can vaccinate as many people as possible. And the president said he's put in place mandatory quarantines for travelers coming into the U.S. to stop the spread of the virus. And he reminded Americans of his call to wear a mask for the first 100 days of his presidency. Again, saying it's not a political statement, it's a patriotic one. Earlier, the president took executive action on racial equality, saying the nation is ready to come together and the federal government must lead the way.
Now's the time to act. It's time to act because that's what the faith and morality call us to do.
The actions include addressing housing equity, ending the use of private prisons, and promoting initiatives to combat xenophobia. The president also said he will work to expand the Voting Rights Act. Senators have been sworn in as jurors in the impeachment trial of former President Trump after an objection by Kentucky Republican Rand Paul, who the trial is unconstitutional.
As of noon last Wednesday, Donald Trump holds none of the positions listed in the Constitution. He is a private citizen.
The one article of impeachment, incitement of insurrection. Democrats claim Trump encouraged his supporters to storm the Capitol January 6th. The trial is expected to start in 2 weeks. Wall Street at the close. Stocks gave up an early lead and lower. The Dow lost 22 points. The Nasdaq minus 9. The S&P off 5 points. America is listening to Fox News. Fewer passengers didn't mean a lesser rate of guns seized at airport checkpoints last year.
The TSA says they found about 10 guns for every million travelers that came to checkpoints in 2020, a record pace and double the rate of 2019. The agency says they seized 3,527 firearms last year. Even though the percentage was higher, the total number of firearms was about 1,000 fewer than 2019. The top 3 airports with the most guns seized: Atlanta, Dallas-Fort Worth, and Houston. Federal law prohibits passengers other than certain law enforcement officers from bringing guns or ammunition into the cabin, but does allow passengers to put guns in checked bags if they're unloaded and in a locked case. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
One of the biggest employers in the country is hiring.
Amazon is hiring 3,000 corporate employees in the Boston area. The company's hiring staff in technology and software development for its Alexa smart speaker system, robotics, web services, and new Amazon pharmacy business. Amazon is considered the second largest private employer in the U.S. after Walmart. It has also been expanding in other cities and now has more than 800,000 employees. Amazon leased a building in Boston's Seaport development as it expanded and says it's not receiving any financial incentives from the government. Jenny Cosola, Fox News.
Fashion designer and husband of actress Lori Loughlin, Massimo Giannulli's request to serve the remaining 3 months of his prison term for his involvement in the college admissions cheating scandal at home has been denied by a federal judge. Giannulli had argued he should be released to home confinement for the rest of his 5-month sentence because he spent 8 weeks under what he called extreme conditions in solitary confinement due to the pandemic. Loughlin was released last month after spending 2 months in federal prison. The couple pled guilty in May to paying $500,000 to get their 2 daughters into USC. I'm Lisa Lacera. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
A dead iPod is remembered as expensive. It's the Onion Radio News. This is Doyle Redland reporting. Despite heroic efforts at resuscitation, a third-generation 30-gigabyte iPod, serial number AP356372, was pronounced dead early this morning at the age of 2. The iPod's closest companion, Sarah Zartman, says she'll never forget the great music it used to play, nor will she forget the nearly $500 price tag.
I'll remember those 3,500 songs as long as I live. That iPod was convenient, portable, and really pricey.
Zartman added that had she known the iPod's lithium-ion battery would have such a short lifespan, she might have spent more time listening to it. AP356372 is survived by a BlackBerry. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, talk radio that you control, the only show on national radio where you can call and talk about anything that's on your mind. If you want to talk, 603-283-6160 is the number. Again, that's 603-283-6160. And Twitter has a solution to the, quote, fake news problem. Of course, big tech is loving censorship these days. Just a number of weeks ago, they proved how powerful they really are when Apple, Google, and Amazon united together to absolutely crush Parler. And the article I had in front of me suddenly vanished for no inexplainable reason. And of course, they now have a new solution for doing this. It's called Birdwatch. And it's Twitter's new fact-checking program that is crowdsourced. Doesn't sound very promising.
So we're going to source people's opinions about a thing?
That seems to be more or less what they're doing. And Republican lawmakers are raising questions about Twitter's new crowdsourced anti-misinformation feature called Birdwatch, which allows users to add notes to tweets they believe are false in an attempt to add context for other users.
How is that different than what you can normally do, which is just reply to a tweet?
People have pointed that out. I mean,
Okay.
that seems to be exactly what this is. If you disagree with the tweet,
say so.
Reply, say, no,
Okay.
this is not correct, and here's the reason why this is not correct.
Hmm.
But I don't know. Maybe there's more to it than that. I don't use Twitter often enough to be well versed in it. But Republican lawmakers are concerned about it because no account and no tweet is exempt from annotation, meaning users can, quote, add context to tweets posted by news outlets, reporters, and elected officials. Birdwatch allows users to identify information in tweets that they believe are misleading or false and write notes or notations to those tweets in a way they feel is providing, quote, informative context, which, as you pointed out, they could already do if they just hit the reply button.
Yeah.
But I guess with the
I'm
reply
curious
button,
to how this is implemented exactly.
I guess with the reply button, other people, the original poster could delete your response and keep your counter from being heard, presumably.
Can that happen? Can you just delete replies on Twitter? I don't think you can. I think you can only
I assumed
block.
you could.
No, I think you can only block a person. Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't know enough about the platform.
Yeah, I've never had any reason to delete anyone's tweets or responses to anything that I've posted, so I don't know. Participants will be able to cite source material in their annotation, including from news outlets, meaning users can annotate one news outlet's tweets by citing other news outlets' tweets.
So is it unremovable if the person correcting it is wrong?
I don't know. It sounds like they're just going to be quoting news articles at each other and calling each other wrong all the time, which that's pretty much Twitter in a nutshell. Senator Ted Cruz, who has been a leading voice in the Senate on the issue of big tech and free speech, slammed Twitter, saying empowering self-proclaimed fact checkers and leftist Silicon Valley billionaires to dictate what is misleading only confirms what the American people already know to be true. Big tech is designating itself to be the sole arbiter of truth and is using its power to silence dissent, Cruz told Fox News. Senator Ron Johnson commented that Twitter users currently have the ability to fact check others, saying, I thought that's what people already did on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for freedom of speech and expression. I just wish Twitter was.
Okay, so here is, according to the actual Twitter blog at blog.twitter.com, written by Vice President of Product Keith Coleman. At Twitter, it's the introduction to Birdwatch. He links to a special website called birdwatch.twitter. Wait, is birdwatch.twitter? Yeah, birdwatch.twitter.com. So according to the instructions here, in the first phase of this pilot, notes will only be visible on the separate Birdwatch site. On this site, pilot participants can also rate the helpfulness of notes added by other contributors. These notes are being intentionally kept separate from Twitter for now, while we build Birdwatch and gain confidence that it produces context people find helpful and appropriate.
Given that Twitter is overrun by leftists, I imagine this is going to result in conservatives going elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, that does seem to be what they want to happen.
Yeah.
Which, okay. I mean, it's their platform. They can build it up however they want to. But
Jack Dorsey should be aware that the leftists that he's bending over for are not fans of the Bitcoin that he promotes.
Really?
Well, certainly. It's an attack on government, and they love big government. And Joe Biden is assembling a team of regulators to clarify Bitcoin regulation.
Well, I don't know about you, but the more government writes about things, the less clear I think that they are being.
You covered a story about Bitcoin where somebody was saying like all kinds of stuff about Bitcoin not being a currency and stuff. It was like an article, and I first saw that trending on Twitter.
That Bitcoin's not a currency was trending?
Yeah, just some anti-Bitcoin like hit piece that you covered here.
Sounds about right.
So they say here the notes are being kept separate from Twitter. Additionally, notes will not have an effect on the way people see tweets on our system recommendations yet. Now, they didn't say yet, but this is phase 1 of the pilot of this Birdwatch.
Right. Twitter's just being lazy here. They don't want to continue going through marking this as these claims have been disputed by CNN or whatever. They want to crowdsource this and let other people do it. That doesn't sound like it's an improvement over the situation.
Well, this is brand new because right now, if you go to birdwatch.twitter.com, there's actually only one post. And so I don't know if they've sort of unleashed the floodgates on this thing yet. It doesn't appear as though anything's happening. The first post is from @Birdwatch or @BWatchExample. So it is literally an account called Birdwatch Example. And then you can look at the notes that are applied to this particular tweet. So right now, this is the only tweet to which someone can apply this. This is like brand new.
Right. This is just happening. Yeah. So Twitter has long acted unilaterally to decide what content is and is not valid and factual, said House Oversight Committee ranking member James Corner. Only time will tell if Birdwatch is successful in having a positive impact on a platform known for silencing conservatives, or if this community-driven effort will end up stifling free speech the way Twitter has done in the recent past. Well, I can tell you, based on the Twitter users, that it will end up silencing conservatives and getting notes on all of their tweets that this is disputed.
Right. So, I mean, maybe it's going to be more like, Reddit in the future, where you can vote on somebody's post, whether you like or dislike the thing. And the more disliked the thing is, the more it is buried as far as whether or not it's ever seen by anyone who's actually in that group.
Yeah, and if you happen to frustrate someone and they take it elsewhere and share it to all of their followers, suddenly you've got a whole brigade of people coming there just to downvote whatever it is that you posted.
Yeah, and
it doesn't matter if what you said is true or not. You made them upset.
Oh, yeah.
So they're going to put a note on your tweet.
Yeah, so, I mean, it sounds like Twitter is going to try to make themselves more like Reddit. Is essentially what it sounds like to me here, is if these notes in some way later on become some sort of a burden against, because generally the idea behind Twitter is when you follow a person, you actually get to see what they say, unlike Facebook. That's why Twitter is, more useful than Facebook as far as a social media, because when you post, purportedly your viewers are actually seeing that in their feed, whereas on Facebook it's like, maybe you will, maybe you won't. And now maybe they will add in these, birdwatch opinions and make it less likely that people will see posts that are birdwatched downwards or whatever. That could be where they're going with this. It would make it very much like Reddit. And then I know on Reddit, if you're in a what they call it, a /r, so like one of these sub communities,
right,
and you're disliked by people in that sub community, again, even if you're posting truthful things, if they don't like you, they just downvote all of the things that you post, and then you get like a negative score or you get some sort of bad score on that Reddit. You can't even post as often. So like if you're having trying to have a conversation with somebody, like I'm in the r/New Hampshire group, and I have to wait.
I'm sure they're in love with you there.
I have to wait 15 minutes between posts because I presume people don't like me, So yeah, it's going to be a way for them to essentially shout down voices that they don't like.
Well, Twitter told Fox News that the company is, quote, not doing a fact check with Birdwatch, and said that it is not a true or false tool, but instead a way to, quote, add context. We know people come to Twitter to stay informed, and they want credible information to help them do so, said the VP of Twitter. I don't think it's going to end up well. More about this and more other news. Cryptocurrency and the Biden administration. Are they going to regulate it? 603-283-6160.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by TJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. It's bitcoin.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160 if you want to join us. And by us, I mean myself, Ian, and Bonnie. AnyPay 2.0, however, is here, which means the crypto payments are now faster than ever if you're using the Edge Wallet, Handcash, Bitcoin.com, or Dash Wallet. If you are, then your experience will be smooth, but some wallets aren't ready for the impressive new technology. And the people behind these wallets need to hear from you, the wallet users. Visit anypayinc.com/upgrade to learn why some popular wallets are incompatible with AnyPay 2.0 and reach out to the wallet programmers and encourage them to make payments perfect at anypayinc.com/upgrade. Awesome interface. I don't have any complaints. I end up using it every day, like I said earlier, at Chris R's new store. So let's go to the phones. We've got the Anarcho-Republican calling. You are on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how you guys doing? I want to welcome you all to the wedding cake tyranny.
What is that?
Well, the wedding cake tyranny was the beginning of this sort of wokey-doke, this wokey-doke tyranny that we've all kind of stepped into.
Oh, this all started with the whole bake the damn cake thing and the bakery being forced to cook a gay cake. Is that what you're talking about?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. I think that's the beginning of it.
You think
that's why
so?
I call it the wedding cake tyranny.
I think it began long before that.
Yeah, I think it began when the first. It began when the first business owner got the first license.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're in this situation where maybe if there was only one guy in the world to make wedding cakes, maybe we might have a different situation. But it's the wedding cake tyranny. Have you noticed how now what they're doing is the old-fashioned bread and circuses? We got them promising us money. You're going to get a check in the mail, and by the way, the Super Bowl is going to have the two best quarterbacks in the world. And let's get you guys distracted a little bit.
There's still a Super Bowl?
What's going on? There's going to be one.
There is, and I
apparently,
only know that
gonna
because it's
have,
going to make my life hell.
It's going to have
on February the
Mahomes
1st.
and it's going to have
7th.
Brady in it. So it's the bread and circuses, you know. It's the old-fashioned to distract the public from what's really going on.
And what is really going on?
Well, there's an addiction to technology is what's happening. We're letting the wokey-doke Rasputin down there in Silicon Valley, you know, tell us what's truth. He's become the ministry of truth.
Who?
You know, we always knew. You don't know who the wokey-doke Rasputin is?
I'm just going to guess Zuckerberg? I don't know.
No, that's the android.
Oh.
The wokey-doke Rasputin is the guy with Twitter, Dorsey.
Why do you call him that?
Because he's got that Rasputin beard, and he's a wokey-doke.
Okay.
Wokey-doke Rasputin.
What's
Don't
a
get with the
wokey-doke?
program. These are the jokes, guys.
They're
You
not
don't know
that
what
funny.
a wokey-doke is?
No, what is a
No.
wokey doke?
Okay. So, well, you know what woke is, right?
I know what
Uh-huh.
leftists think it is.
Okay. Well, a wokey-doke is a dude that's, you know, okey-dokey with the wokey.
Well, I can't believe
what I
you're
mean?
laughing at this, Arya. It's not really that funny.
I'm laughing at how silly it sounds to hear a grown man saying this.
Wokey doke over and over
Okay.
again, yeah.
Well, anyway, let me get. Maybe you guys can help me out a little bit.
Okay. We're ready.
What is with this pro-government anarchy that I seem to be? I see these people.
Aren't you calling
these
yourself a
anarchists-
Republican anarchist?
Well, it's just that I am. That's who I am. It's not what I am. It's who I am.
Okay.
You know, like nobody's somebody. I am the anarcho-republican. It isn't a thing. It's just me.
So you're a
But
statist
anyway,
anarchist, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'm saying is I like freedom. You know,
Okay. Do you like government?
I like freedom. Not particularly. No, I think it's the beast.
Do you like republicanism?
I think it's the best form that there is. I think it's better than democracy. I think we're looking at democracy. You know, January 6th, that's what democracy looks like. You know, it was better when we had a republic, I think. Yeah, sure. I would say so. Yeah, there's more freedom in that. Yeah, I think there's a...
You know,
I think
like they
there's a
have in
tyranny.
the People's Republic of Korea?
Well, they call it a republic, you know. When I was a kid...
Your republic would be
the
the free one, right?
When I called it a republic, when I was a kid, I was sitting at the dinner table. I think I called the Soviet Union a republic because it's in the name. I got hit in the head with a loaf of bread from my dad. So that's the difference
So
between.
he
what
taught
we
you
did
that
with our
violence
children.
solves problems?
No, what he taught me was that no, they're not a republic. They just call themselves one.
Right. Just like all the other
And then
republics of the
I've
world.
been around the world enough to actually seen it.
So
Okay.
what
I've
makes
been
you
to
think that
Cuba.
this republic would be a real republic?
Well, what we're seeing happen right now is you're watching your freedoms just shrink away.
Uh-huh.
You know, kind of like the big Bitcoin.
So much for the republic,
Our
right? Like
freedoms are going
so
flat
the republic
too.
was a failure, is what you're saying?
Oh, well, it looks like it's on its way to being one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that. Yeah.
On its way.
But they all are.
But you
They
just
all
said
are.
that that's the
what
best
happens to
system.
them.
Don't you think
They're
that
human.
no system
They're
is
human.
the
They're
best?
They're not meant to. They're not meant to last forever.
He
They're
can't
just
listen when he's
human
talking.
Constructs.
Bitcoin is also not flattening.
had a
I noticed
question
that you said that it's not.
you.
Oh,
ahead, Bonnie.
you
Yeah.
said that like a republic would be the best system. Don't you think
well,
that
what
no
I'm trying to
system
know,
would be
what I
better?
ask you guys was, you guys help me understand. When I watch these pro-government anarchists that support globalism,
I don't
they
know
call
what
themselves
anarchists you're talking
anarchists.
about.
well, the ones out in Portland, you know, the Antifa
Leftists.
dudes, and you know, they're out anytime there's a way to support globalism, they're out there doing it. I don't understand that kind of anarchy. To me, that kind of anarchy is fanarchy.
Well,
there
globalism
isn't
is certainly incompatible. I mean, a global state is
so
certainly
why-
incompatible with
wait, help me
anarchism.
understand. I mean, you guys have had a little fun with me. You know, you know, I'm a Ron Paul anarchist, so you had a little fun with me. But now you guys explain to me, you know, explain these people to me. These guys out here calling themselves anarchists, and they're supporting globalism. They support the EU.
I don't know any of them, so I can't really explain them.
You'd have to
don't know.
find a show.
You've never run across one.
No, you'd
No.
have to find a show that one of these
Oh.
people is doing and call
Okay.
them and ask
So
them.
they're not people that I don't expect you guys to be like. I've heard your show enough to know that you're not like that. But I was wondering, you know, there are these people, these left wing. They've been around for, you know, a century. I mean, every time they come around, the commies use them. They use them and then discard them, and that's what they did this year.
I
They
don't
used
know,
them
man.
And then now they wanted to.
Thank you for calling. I would recommend finding one of them doing a podcast or a blog or something like that, or maybe even one of them has a radio show and ask them the question, because I couldn't begin to explain to you what a big government anarchist is.
I mean, I'd love to hear the answer myself. I mean, I've heard that these people exist. I've never actually had any kind of interactions with them, or at least knowingly had any interactions with them. I presume that they're out there, but I don't know who they are.
These are probably, I would imagine that these are the socialists who mistakenly call themselves anarchists for whatever reason.
Right.
That would be my best guess, but socialism requires the existence of a state. I'll give the ANCOMs the label, the permission to call themselves anarchists.
Well, isn't that what we're talking about here?
What, the socialists?
Well, the anarchists that are supposedly pro-government.
I imagine they're the socialist ones, yeah. But I mean, they're just calling themselves anarchists, and they're not anarchists because they're pro-government.
Indeed.
To me, those two things are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But to be admitted to this new Birdwatch program, a user must be located in the United States, have a verified email.
Oh, so truth doesn't matter outside of the United States? Is that what they're saying? Or is it only going to start in the U.S. and expand from there?
I don't know. I imagine they're trying to go ahead and fix any problems before the Democratic Congress starts trying to regulate them. And I imagine that's what this attempt is. So they're focusing it on the United States. But it's unclear when this is going to be available for people, and it doesn't sound like it's good. Even Twitter admits it's going to be messy and it's going to have problems. I'm not looking forward to it.
July 25th, we adopted April. She's a purebred, orange and white Brittany. But when she started scratching like crazy, I said to John, it's got to be her food. You know, what you put into a dog is what you get out. We heard this radio commercial, and this woman was so excited about Dinovite, DINOVITE.com. I said to John, I'm getting this. So the Dinovite comes, and I thought, a light bulb moment. She loves her dog food. She always leaves a little bit in her bowl. So we added a huge scoop of Dinovite in it, and then we swished it around like gravy. She dove into that bowl. She licked it clean. She loved it. So that's been the routine. April gets Dinovite for dessert. Her coat is now soft. It's silky. Dinovite is nutrition. She even walks like a little princess.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
On Dinovite, she's Little Miss Hollywood. DINOVITE.com.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. If you want to join us on the airways, with you tonight, it's Aria, Ian, and Bonnie. And Bitcoin is something that we talk about frequently here on Free Talk Live. And evidently, the Biden administration seeks to do something about Bitcoin. Coming to us from the Motley Fool, or Fool.com. The cryptocurrency market is looking for a firm regulatory framework.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. I think Coinbase is looking for
Who's
one.
writing this?
Anders Byland.
The Motley Fool?
Of the Motley Fool.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think that cryptocurrency or the actual cryptocurrency advocates are looking for such a framework, but Coinbase and Kraken and Gemini are certainly looking for one, because then they can use that to go after other cryptocurrency exchanges and preventing them from becoming successful in the first place.
Yeah, that's true.
They want to take down local Bitcoins.
Yeah, they all count as the cryptocurrency market, but there's plenty of us out there in the cryptocurrency market that don't want any kind of central control, regulation, or quote-unquote structure to be imposed by governments. That's the reason why we got into cryptocurrency.
It is indeed. And if they do figure out a way to actually regulate Bitcoin, it will just drive people to Monero or to something else, which I wouldn't be opposed to seeing, but for the time being, I would just rather the government leave it alone. The state of New Hampshire has actually made it illegal for the banking system to regulate Bitcoin or something along those lines.
I don't know about that.
Okay.
What they did do was,
I think they said that the banking industry, the financial overseers had no authority to regulate Bitcoin or something along those lines?
No, I don't think that was it. I mean, ultimately, it's not money transmission to sell Bitcoin, so there is no real regulatory, structure that can come into play there from my understanding. And I'm forgetting what it was now, for whatever reason, about the New Hampshire state government did do like a Bitcoin deregulation to some extent, but that was because they accidentally passed a regulation of Bitcoin, so they had to undo it.
Good for them.
Yeah.
To undo it, I mean.
And I'm sorry, I don't remember what all the details were on that.
So governments around the world are trying to figure out whether Bitcoin is a currency, a tradable commodity, a security on par with stocks and options, or a brand new asset class of its own. Once they figure that out, and it depends on which particular arm of the government you ask, they'll have to ask the same questions about Ethereum, Tether, Ripple, and Cardano, and the list of major cryptocurrencies only grows longer over time.
And trying to get these government douchebags to actually understand what any of those things are. I mean, you're dealing with people who call the internet a series of tubes, right? And you're trying to explain to them what just Bitcoin is. I mean, that alone is going to be a difficult process. And then to say, okay, you got Bitcoin, kinda. Now let's start trying to explain Ethereum to you.
Until Ian explained it to me, I thought like my text message just flew through the air to the next phone.
Yeah. You don't know.
But you're not trying to regulate text messaging or the use of cryptocurrency. So it's okay, to not know everything, right?
Of course not.
The problem with politicians is that they're not experts. They don't know everything, but they still want to regulate everything.
Sure.
Settling the thorny issues of legality, taxation, and trading rules will take time, adding to the uncertainty and volatility of the global crypto market. Now, Bitcoin is currently, quote, down to like $30-something thousand.
Down.
It's like the previous caller said, Bitcoin is flattening just like our freedoms. And what?
My dad told me Bitcoin just took a bath and then it hit 40,000 like 2 days later.
Bitcoin is certainly down versus its all-time high, but that's not unusual
Which was
for Bitcoin.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, 6 months ago, Bitcoin was at 13,000 or something. I mean, it depends on what time frame you look at, how Bitcoin is. But yes, Bitcoin, clearly, it's dead again. Time to move on. Bitcoin didn't work. It's a failure. But President Biden is putting together a team of financial experts that should clarify the tricky cryptocurrency market in a hurry, which means within the next 2 to 3 years, probably.
because government.
3 of Biden's top-level financial staff picks have a proven understanding of how blockchain and cryptocurrency assets actually work. Let's start with our next U.S. Secretary, Janet Yellen. She's also the current Treasury Secretary, isn't she? Or was she?
She was involved under the Obama administration. I don't think she was still there under Trump, but I don't know. I don't follow these bureaucrats closely.
The name is familiar. Maybe she was the head of the Fed at one point.
I think she was.
Okay.
I think she was. Now
Maybe
they're putting her
that's
in
why I know
this U.S. Secretary or whatever.
Well, it's not like that's much different from being the head of the Fed.
I believe the Secretary of the Treasury, don't they sit on the board of the Fed?
Probably.
I think they do. I could be wrong about that.
In last week's written testimony given as part of Yellen's nomination process, she said that cryptocurrencies offer both benefits and challenges to the American financial system. I find it interesting that she included a statement about cryptocurrencies in her written testimony to be nominated.
She was asked about it, actually. We reported on this last week. It was Maggie Hassan, the New Hampshire senator, who asked her about it being used by criminals.
I think it's important we consider the benefits of cryptocurrencies and other digital assets and the potential they have to improve the efficiency of the financial system. At the same time, we know they can be used to finance terrorism, facilitate money laundering, and support malign activities that threaten U.S. national security interests and the integrity of the U.S. and international financial systems. All of which are well, financing terrorism is primarily done with the USD. Money laundering, primarily done with the USD.
Sure.
Supporting malign activities that threaten U.S. national security, primarily done with the USD. However, the USD doesn't have any efficiency improvements to offer. So whatever downsides they have against Bitcoin are there for the USD as well. Many headlines focused on the terrorism issue, ignoring Yellen's more positive view of digital assets as a source of efficiency and innovation. She pledged to do a deep review of cryptocurrency markets in collaboration with many other banking and finance regulators, all of whom don't like cryptocurrency. Yeah, that does not sound like the group of people you would want to discuss cryptocurrency with. Give Ian a call if you really want to know Janet Yellen. Hoping to establish an effective set of rules that limits, quote, malign and illegal activities while supporting powerful fintech innovation based on blockchain technologies.
What a load.
Yeah. Yellen's views on Bitcoin.
All those regulations are going to do, as you suggested earlier, Aria, they're going to prop up the major corporations like Coinbase and Kraken, and at the expense of any small startups who might want to actually get into business and try to compete with these behemoths. It's going to make it even more difficult, and it's not going to do jack diddly to prevent terrorism.
No, and regulations don't improve innovation. I don't know why government thinks they do. Regulations always inhibit innovation.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they think that they do, but that's the public line. That's what they say. You know, that's what they want you to believe when whether it's cryptocurrency that they're regulating or hair braiding that they're regulating. They want you to believe that safety is increased because their bureaucracy exists. They want you to believe that competition is somehow buffeted or benefited in some way. Because that they exist. And all of the things that they want you to believe are actually contrary to the truth.
I don't know. Now that I've thought further about it, maybe government regulations do support innovation because people have to come up with innovative ways around those government regulations. We wouldn't have Bitcoin today if it wasn't for government regulations on banking and currency and the Federal Reserve and the 2007 recession.
But we would have flying cars.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we
probably
can't
have a
say.
better currency already, but it wouldn't be Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's true. It wouldn't be Bitcoin, but yes, what would it be? We really can't say how things would have developed if we actually had the freedom to develop those things in the area of money and other.
But government regulations are only innovative as so far as people innovate ways around those innovations.
Sure, and that means that they're spending their effort innovating their way around the regulations instead of spending their effort on whatever they would normally spend their effort on. So it is still, even though it does spur innovation, it's not innovation with sort of the ideal focus, I guess.
At the height of the last Bitcoin peak in 2017, when Yellen served at the chair of the Federal Reserve, she said that she wasn't a fan of cryptocurrency, while also acknowledging that the crypto market was in need of a stable framework of regulations and monitoring. Well, I disagree entirely. What do you think about it? Should Bitcoin be regulated? 603-283-6160.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live with you tonight, Aria, Ian, and new co-host Vonnie. We're talking about Bitcoin here and the odds of the Biden administration seeking to regulate it. I think it's fairly inevitable that they're going to. I mean, governments have been wanting to regulate cryptocurrency and Bitcoin for a very long time. It's taken them. When did Bitcoin come out? 2009 was the first block mine.
So it's been 12 years.
It's 12 years is about the time I would expect it to take government to react to the existence of a new life-changing, world-changing thing.
To be fair to the government, in this case, the banking commissions or whatever out there were some surprising developments in 2020. I don't know whether Trump is going to claim credit for any of this stuff, but they did, the banker people, whatever Office of Regulatory, I forget what it's called, OCC.
The comptroller of the currency.
Comptroller of the currency. There you go. They did allow banks to begin working with cryptocurrency sort of officially. Some banks were sort of, getting into it a little bit, but most banks were totally afraid of cryptocurrency, and then now the government has said it's okay.
I suppose they had to before PayPal could begin acting as a steward of Bitcoin, because I think they are technically considered a bank, aren't they?
I think PayPal would like to be considered a bank, but I don't think that they are.
Okay. They have their own debit card at least, and that's routing numbers and account numbers and stuff.
Well, I don't think they have routing numbers with PayPal. No. I don't think they do. They may, if they do, they're secret. I don't think that you can just find out what those are.
Okay, interesting.
But yeah, I suspect the PayPal credit or debit card is actually in tandem with some sort of banking partner. It is issued by the Bancorp Bank.
Well, let's go to the phones. We've got David calling from New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Yeah, Republic. I followed every word of that caller. I'm surprised you guys didn't, and I thought it was a great call.
Which call?
Republic, you're kind of down. Yeah, go ahead.
You have to understand there's always people calling in that weren't listening when you were. So which call are you referring to?
The guy who was talking about Republic versus a democracy. What was it, Republican anarchist or something like that?
Yeah, it's a typical Republican talking point that it's supposed to be a republic, not a democracy. And, we used to say that here on Free Talk Live.
How is it not still a republic, though?
Let me interrupt and save you. If you look at your organization, if we could idealize Free Talk Live or LRN, that you are kind of a republic. You're more of a republic than you are a democracy, because you take into consideration the opinions and viewpoints and wishes and desires of all the people in your organization.
No, this is a dictatorship.
Hello?
This is a dictatorship. I'm in charge.
I was going to characterize it as a benign dictatorship.
Yes, it's a benign dictatorship with relatively free speech.
Well, I don't think you're quite a dictatorship, because I think if you were a pure dictatorship, you probably would have more people bailing your organization than what you do have bailing from your organization.
Well, in theory, I mean, we could have a world dictator who actually dictates for the good of all people. It's extremely unlikely.
Isn't that what they have in Liechtenstein?
And I would actually argue that Ian is what you have. You have less of a dictatorship, or let me restate it. Your so-called dictatorship is actually a republic. It just has a representative of one person. You only have one elected representative.
Real stretch. I don't think you can.
But we don't vote. Yeah, but we don't vote for Ian. Hello? Yes.
Hello?
David, we don't vote for Ian. You get that right?
I didn't mandate the necessity of there being voting. I don't think I even used the word democracy as applied to this republic yet. I just was talking about what a republic is.
You just stretched the definition of republic to include a one-person representative who represents the dictator. I mean, the dictator representing himself.
Right, but
David, what the hell is a republic?
let me apply another concept.
No. First, what in the hell do you consider to be a republic? I need to know now.
A republic is simply, instead of everybody having a vote and whoever gets the most votes, we do what the tyranny of that group does. We vote to elect a representative, and they don't necessarily have to follow the absolute voting lines of the majority. They can use their intelligence to decide whether the populace is making a good decision or not.
So you realize you just defined republic as voting for a representative, despite the fact that I just told you we don't vote for Ian.
You are coloring within the lines too much. You're being argumentative, and you're trying not to see my point.
I'm using the definition that you literally gave.
We voluntarily follow Ian.
Please don't follow me.
Follow him on Twitter or on social.freetalklive.com, though.
But, you know.
David, thank you so much for a call. That's all I can take of that tonight, because I'm not sure what the point of any of it was.
I don't know what that was. Yeah, that was very confusing.
I would urge you to look up the definition of republic, because the definition you gave is pretty close, but then you go on to apply it to things that are, by definition, not republics. Doesn't a republic require a constitution?
I have no idea. I mean, does the People's Republic of Korea, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, do they have a constitution? Does the People's Republic of China have a constitution?
The People's Republic of Free Talk Live have a constitution?
This is not a republic.
Neither is North Korea, or whichever one it was you said.
Yes, they are. They say they are.
Okay, well.
So they must be a republic.
I can't argue with that. So getting back to...
By the way, I just want to clarify, the reason it's a quote-unquote dictatorship is because I don't like partnerships. You know, I don't like having to argue over what needs to happen with somebody who has an equal, share in things. I'd rather just set the rules the way I want them and, have that thing, whatever that happens to be, come out of those rules. And if you don't like it, Mark Edge, you can go and start your own show somewhere. I give Mark as an example because he, for years, has tried his darndest to, be like this equal partner with me in Free Talk Live, and I just don't want to have it that way. I don't want.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
At least two of Biden's top-level financial leadership picks come with serious backgrounds in blockchain and cryptocurrency technologies. There's Gary Gensler, who has been tapped. It doesn't really make much of a difference what he is, but he says he has direct experience from the legislative angle, focusing on financial technologies, blockchain technology, digital currencies, and public policy. Evidently, he's a professor at MIT.
Oh, finally, we've got a smart person working for the government. They will surely know how to centrally regulate and control cryptocurrencies.
Well, someone at MIT would be better qualified to regulate cryptocurrencies than Joe Biden, at the very least. I don't want the regulations, but at least we do have someone there who understands cryptocurrency, or at least blockchain technology. I don't know if that's good.
That doesn't give me a warm,
I don't know if that's
feeling.
good or bad, though. Would it be better to have someone like Biden who goes, "Oh, we're just going to plug up all the tubes, and then that'll fix the Bitcoin problem," right? That may actually be better.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the extent of it. There's another guy saying, what can we expect from the new team? They bring stellar credentials to the table, along with their stated support for, quote, reasonable cryptocurrency regulations. It's hard to say how quickly they can develop a stable rulebook for the long term, but they do seem well-equipped to get the job done. That's according to the Motley Fool, not me.
Yeah, they're not going to get anything done, except for, like you were pointing out, to restrict the marketplace and make it so only the biggest players are the ones that are able to provide cryptocurrency legally, in the United States.
I like how out of touch this guy is. He ends this article with, the new rules may not always favor the current players of the fintech market, that's financial technology, but regulatory stability will be good news for the market as a whole. The new rules will always favor the current players of the fintech market.
Mm-hmm.
Coinbase has been the ones, they created this private cryptocurrency panel of people to lobby Congress for cryptocurrency regulations.
Really?
Yes, I don't remember now what they called it, but I mean, they've been planning these regulations for since like 2014, 2015. They want to be regulated because they know that this is how they can crush their number one competition, local Bitcoins. or local Ethereum or local
Are they
Monero.
the number one competitor? I don't think so.
I don't know, but they're the competitor.
Local Bitcoins crushed themselves 2 years ago when
What
they
are
implemented.
local Bitcoins?
Oh, that's a good question. And I don't know if we have time to really get into the answer, but it's a way for people to sell Bitcoins directly instead of going through a central or a more centralized exchange, even though
there
is
are
still a
decentralized ones out there.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see more of the decentralized options becoming more popular as they make more regulations.
Absolutely. But yeah, I don't know if local Bitcoins is the number one competitor to Coinbase or anything like that, but they are a competitor.
Yeah, they are. But they killed themselves when they made KYC a requirement 2 years ago.
They've done a lot of things to kill themselves over the years. So yeah, it's not the best place to get Bitcoins, but I mean...
Agoradesk is pretty cool. Agoradesk.com, that's a good site.
That's it for us tonight, but we'll be back and on the internet. In the meantime, we're on the internet at social.freetalklive.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to DivvyProject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from DivvyProject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. DivvyProject.org. DIVI Project.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert.